Listen closely. This message is not for the crowd. It is not for the ones who fit in, who follow the rules of this world and feel at home inside its walls. It is not for the people who can scroll past a message like this one and feel nothing. This is for you, the one who has always felt like a stranger, even in familiar places. The one who sits in rooms full of people and still feels like a visitor from somewhere else. The one who questions why things never quite worked out the way they were supposed to, no matter how carefully you followed the instructions everyone else seemed to thrive on. You did not stumble onto this video by accident. You know that already, do you not? Something in your chest tightened the moment you heard the first words. That is because this is a divine interruption, a message from beyond the veil, and it has found you at the perfect time. Not a day early, not a day late. Heaven does not miss its appointments, and this one has your name on it. Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly, in the quiet place where only you and God can hear. Have you ever felt exhausted just thinking about going after another job? Not tired from working, tired from the thought of it, tired before you even open the laptop. You sit down to search the listings, and something inside you goes grey, like a light being dimmed by an unseen hand. Not because you are lazy, let me say that again, because someone needs to hear it twice. Not because you are lazy, but because every part of you knows it is not where you belong. Have you felt your soul resisting the idea of settling into something that dims your light? Have you typed your name into one more application, attached one more resume, answered one more question about your greatest weakness, and felt like you were writing a confession for a crime you never committed? Have you sat in an interview, saying the right words, wearing the right clothes, while a voice deep inside you whispered, "This is not it. This was never it"? And have you been hearing a deeper voice underneath all of that? One that keeps whispering, there is something else you are meant to do. Not louder than the world, never louder, but steadier, more patient. A voice that has outlasted every disappointment, every rejection email, every closed door, every year you told yourself you would figure it out eventually. If so, hear me now. You are not lost. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are being rerouted by God Himself. Chosen ones do not look for work the way the world does. Why? Because they were never sent here to be just workers. They were sent here to be awakeners, to be carriers of divine assignments, to be reminders in human form that this world is not all there is. When God formed you, He did not consult the job market. He did not check which industries were hiring. He wrote an assignment into your spirit before your mother ever knew your name, and no application portal on this earth has a field long enough to contain it. You have likely noticed by now that no matter how hard you try to follow the so-called normal path, something always breaks down. The offer that fell through at the last moment. The position that dissolved right before you signed. The company that felt promising until the day you walked in and felt your spirit fold in on itself like a letter being put back in its envelope. The door that everyone said was open, that somehow closed the moment you reached for it. You counted these as failures. You lay awake replaying them, wondering what was wrong with you. But what if nothing was wrong with you? What if something was right with heaven? You are not cursed. You are being set apart. There is a difference, and the difference changes everything. A curse takes things from you to destroy you. A setting apart takes things from you to prepare you. The world has systems that were never made with you in mind, and God, in His mercy, has refused to let you succeed in cages. Some of those closed doors were not rejection, they were rescue. Some of those failed plans were not punishment, they were protection. You wept over doors that God Himself had locked, because He loved you too much to let you build a life inside the wrong room. And God's message to you today is simple, and it is direct, and it will confront everything you were taught. Do not go after jobs. Do this instead. Step fully into your divine gift. Step into the call that has been pressing on your spirit since the day you were born. The reason things have not worked out the way you expected is because you are meant to live by a different blueprint. Heaven's blueprint. One where your purpose creates your provision, where your obedience attracts overflow, where your gift opens the door that no application ever could. Think about that for a moment. Purpose that creates provision. Not a paycheck that permits survival. Not a salary that rents your dreams back to you one weekend at a time. Provision that flows from the very thing God placed in you before the foundations of your story were laid. This is not fantasy. This is the oldest economy in existence. Before there were resumes, there were assignments. Before there were interviews, there were callings. Before any man ever hired another man, God was already sending people into their purpose and feeding them along the way. Ask the prophets who were fed in famine. Ask the shepherds who became kings. Ask the fishermen who dropped their nets, the only security they had ever known, because a voice said, "Follow me," and provision followed them for the rest of their lives. This message is not meant to inspire you for a moment. Inspiration is cheap, and it evaporates by morning. This is meant to awaken you to your true role. You are not here to blend in. You are here to break patterns, to speak light into dark places, to live in such a way that others remember who they are just by being around you. There are people assigned to your future who cannot be reached by anyone but you. There are rooms that will not shift until you walk into them. There are prayers being prayed right now by people you have never met, that God intends to answer through the gift you have been sitting on. That is why the enemy worked so hard to make you feel ordinary. That is why every attempt to shrink into a normal life felt like slow suffocation. You cannot bury a seed that heaven planted and expect it to stay quiet. It pushes, it aches. It keeps you up at night with visions of a life you have never lived, but somehow, remember, that ache is not dysfunction. That ache is destiny refusing to die. The time of hiding is over. The time of playing small is done. You are being called into spiritual entrepreneurship, prophetic leadership, divine creativity, and healing assignments that no worldly job title could contain. There is no position called light bearer on any careers page. There is no listing for chain breaker, no salary band for burden lifter, no department for the one who restores hope to houses that forgot what hope sounds like. The world does not post openings for what you are. It does not know how to, but heaven has been holding your position open since before you were born, and no one else can fill it. Maybe you are listening to this on a lunch break, sitting in a car outside a building that pays your bills and starves your soul. Maybe you are listening in a season of unemployment that has stretched longer than you ever imagined, and shame has been whispering to you in the dark. Maybe you are listening at 2 in the morning because sleep would not come again, and your mind kept circling the same question, what am I supposed to do with my life? Wherever you are, whatever hour it is, know this. God saw you there before he sent this message. He knows the account balance. He knows the pending applications. He knows what you almost gave up on last week. And still, he says, you are not behind. You are being positioned. So, if your spirit has been stirred while listening, if you feel a confirmation in your chest right now, a warmth, a weight, a knowing you cannot explain, comment 444 below. Let heaven see you raise your hand. And more than that, subscribe to this channel, Rise of the Chosen. Tap the bell icon and share this message with someone else who has been stuck in confusion about their purpose. Because somebody in your life is quietly drowning in a calling they do not understand, and this word might be the rope they have been praying for. And stay with me all the way to the end, because near the close of this message I am going to tell you the story of a boy in an ancient temple who heard what a whole generation of experts could not. But first, hold something for me. A few years ago, in a research laboratory far from any church, a small team of scientists led by a doctor in New York uncovered something about the way your mind was built. Something that traces back to a Nobel Prize, and that almost no one carrying a calling has ever been told about. I will bring it to you at the right moment in this message. Until then, carry this one question. What if the fog and the hesitation were never your character? What if something was taken from you, and what if it can be returned? This is not motivational talk. This is alignment. This is your divine re-entry into the truth you have always known, but were trained to doubt. You were chosen by God, and your gift is not optional. It is your assignment. It is the reason certain rooms never felt right and certain dreams never let you go. Welcome to the rise, chosen one. Take a breath, sit up, and let every word that follows find the places in you that have been waiting years to hear it. Before we go deeper, I want to give you 3 signs, 3 unmistakable marks that you are one of the ones this message was sent for. Because the enemy's favorite trick is to make a chosen one listen to a word like this and think, this is beautiful, but it is probably for someone else. So test yourself against these 3 signs, honestly, and let the evidence speak. The first sign is this: success in the wrong thing has always felt strangely empty to you. Notice I did not say failure, I said success. Anyone can feel bad about failing. But you have felt hollow while winning. You got the position, and the celebration lasted a single evening before the grey feeling crept back in. You received the praise, the raise, the title, and stood in the parking lot afterward wondering why it felt like someone else's victory. The world cannot explain that. Psychology can barely explain that. But heaven explains it perfectly. When you succeed at an assignment that was never yours, your spirit refuses to celebrate because your spirit keeps honest records. It knows the difference between applause and alignment, and it will not let you be comforted by the wrong prize. If you have ever grieved in the middle of what everyone else called a win, that is the first sign. You are not ungrateful. You are chosen, and chosen ones cannot be satisfied by substitutes. The second sign is this: seasons of loss kept stripping you of things you thought you needed, and yet, somehow, you are still here. Look back at your own history. The friendships that dissolved when you started changing, the opportunities that collapsed for reasons no one could explain, the version of yourself you had to bury, the plans that died in your hands while you begged them to live. An ordinary life does not require that much pruning. A decorative plant is left alone in its corner. It is the fruit tree that the gardener cuts again and again, deliberately, because he is planning for harvests the plant cannot imagine. You have been cut like something the gardener has plans for. And here is the proof that the pruning was divine and not destructive. Everything you truly needed survived. Every loss that felt like it would end you did not end you. You sit here today, lighter than you wanted to be, emptier than you planned to be, and still breathing, still hungry for purpose, still hearing the whisper. The enemy takes things to destroy you. God removes things to prepare you. If your life has been a long history of holy subtraction, that is the second sign. The third sign is the strangest one, and the most tender. Strangers open up to you. Have you noticed it? People you barely know tell you things they have told no one. The co-worker who suddenly shares her whole story at the coffee machine, the old man in the waiting room who talks to you like he has known you for years, the friend of a friend who says, "I do not know why I am telling you this." It happens to you constantly, and you have probably never once considered what it means. Let me tell you what it means. The broken can sense a healer before the healer knows what he is. The lost can smell direction on a person the way a thirsty animal smells water. People are drawn to what God put in you, even while it is still buried, even while you are unemployed, even while you doubt yourself at 2 in the morning. Their souls are not confused about you. Only your mind is. If people keep handing you their pain without being asked, heaven is showing you over and over what your hands were made to hold. That is the third sign. Now, if you recognized yourself in even one of those, I need you to understand what that recognition means. It means the restlessness you have carried is not a malfunction to be medicated away by another job search. It is a summons, and a summons requires a response. Think of how differently heaven recruits compared to the world. The world posts a listing and waits for applicants. Heaven interrupts. It interrupted a shepherd named Moses in the middle of an ordinary workday on the far side of the wilderness, with a bush that burned and would not be consumed. It interrupted Gideon while he was threshing wheat in a winepress, hiding from his enemies, and called the frightened man a mighty warrior before he had won a single battle. It interrupted a teenager named Mary in a forgotten town and reorganized human history in a single conversation. Not one of them was searching for a position. Not one of them submitted credentials. Heaven does not review applications. Heaven issues assignments. And an assignment does not ask if you feel qualified. It asks if you are willing. Here is what you must settle in your heart before we continue, because everything that follows depends on it. Being chosen is not a compliment. It is a responsibility. The world has flattened that word until it sounds like flattery, like being picked first for a team, like being special in a way that costs nothing. But in Scripture, being chosen almost always meant a harder road, a lonelier stretch, a longer preparation, and a purpose that outweighed the person. Joseph was chosen, and it looked like a pit and a prison for years before it looked like a palace. David was chosen, and it looked like caves and running for his life long before it looked like a crown. If your chosenness has felt like weight rather than privilege, you have not misunderstood it. You have understood it better than most. And that weight explains the loneliness, does it not? That specific loneliness you have never been able to name. You can be surrounded by family who love you and still feel unaccompanied, because love is not the same as understanding. The people around you see your behavior, but they cannot see your blueprint. They watch you decline what they would have accepted, wrestle with questions they have never asked, and grieve jobs they would celebrate, and they conclude that something is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. You are simply carrying something they were not given to carry, and it is unreasonable to expect people to understand a load they have never lifted. Even Jesus, in the garden, in his heaviest hour, found his closest friends asleep, not because they did not love him, because they could not stay awake inside a burden that was not theirs. If your journey has required you to walk stretches alone, you are not off the path. You are on the part of it where footprints thin out, because few are called that far in. So here is how I want you to listen to the rest of this message. Not as an audience member evaluating a speech, but as a soldier receiving orders. Not as someone hoping to be moved, but as someone prepared to move. Somewhere in the next portion of this word, there is a sentence with your name on it. I do not know which one it is, but the same Spirit who arranged for you to be here at this exact moment knows. And when that sentence lands, you will feel it land, the way you feel a key turn in a lock that has been stuck for years. When it happens, do not rush past it. Pause the video if you must. Write it down. Say it out loud. The Word of God is not meant to wash over a chosen one like music. It is meant to lodge in you like a seed, and seeds that are received do what seeds do. They break open, they take root, they become something that feeds people. You have spent enough years asking the wrong question. The question was never, who will hire me? The question was always, who sent me, and what did he send me to do? Hold that question in your chest now, as we turn to the truth about why the working world never fit you, and why that misfit was one of the kindest things God ever allowed in your life. Chosen one, I need you to hear this slowly, because your whole life has been arguing against it. You have been forcing yourself into a system that was never built for you. You have been folding your wings to fit inside a cubicle. You have been shrinking a calling the size of nations into a job description written by a stranger, and you wondered why it hurt. You wondered why every morning felt like a small funeral. It was not because something is wrong with you. It is because something is right with you, and the world has no shelf for it. Think about it. Every time you tried to walk the path they called secure, something in you went quiet. Every time you chose the responsible option, the normal option, the sensible option, your spirit shut down like a house going dark, room by room. You sat in the orientation meeting with the badge around your neck and felt like a man attending his own burial. You smiled in the interview and heard a voice deeper than your own whispering, "This is not it. This is not it." And you did not know what to call that voice, so you called it fear. You called it immaturity. You called it self-sabotage. But heaven had another name for it. You blamed yourself for so long. You called yourself lazy because you could not force your hands to care about work your soul was never assigned to. You called yourself inconsistent because you could start anything except the things that were beneath your calling. You called yourself ungrateful because good people fought to give you opportunities that felt like cages. You lay awake at 2 in the morning asking, why can everyone else do this and I cannot? Why does everyone else clock in, clock out, collect the check, and sleep in peace, while I feel like I am slowly disappearing? Chosen one, the answer is deeper than discipline. The answer is deeper than personality. The truth is this: you were never broken. You were misfiled. From the day you were born, the world began training you to serve its machine. Sit in rows, raise your hand, memorize the answer, get the grade, get the degree, print the resume, apply, compete, climb. Impress the manager, survive the review, chase the raise, hold on for 40 years, and then retire with whatever is left of you. Nobody asked what you were sent here to do. Nobody asked what was burning in you. They asked what you could do for the machine, and the machine only had one question for you. How useful are you to somebody else's dream? But while everyone around you was chasing promotions, you were haunted by questions. While they compared salaries, you were asking, why am I alive? While they decorated their desks, you were staring out windows, wondering if there was more, and hating yourself for wondering, because wondering does not pay rent. Hear me, that ache was not dysfunction. That restlessness was not immaturity. That was divine dissonance. That was the sound of an eternal instrument refusing to play a temporary song. A sparrow can be content in a cage that would drive an eagle mad, and it is not because the eagle is ungrateful. It is because the eagle remembers the sky. Jobs were created to organize labor. Understand that. There is nothing evil about them. They keep the lights on and the bread baked and the trains running, and God honors honest work. But you were not merely sent here to be organized. You were sent here to build. You were sent here to awaken. You were sent here to shift atmospheres, to walk into rooms heavy with despair and leave them lighter, to speak into lives that have gone silent and watch them start to sing again. A job asks for your hours. Your assignment asks for your fire. And you cannot give your fire to a spreadsheet. That is why the desk drains you. That is why the micromanagement feels like slow suffocation. It is not weakness. Your energy is sacred, chosen one. Your time is not a commodity. It is an offering. and something holy in you rebels when that offering is poured out on an altar that heaven never built. When they measure your minutes and monitor your screen and ask why you were 3 minutes late, something in your spirit stands up and says, I was not created for this scale. You cannot measure an ocean with a coffee cup, and you cannot measure a calling with a time clock. Remember Joseph, a dreamer sold by his own brothers, carried into a foreign land and locked into serving systems that were never his destiny. He served in a rich man's house, and he served in a prison, and he served with excellence. But the whole time the dream stayed alive in him, humming under the surface, refusing to die. The prison did not cancel the palace. The prison was the corridor to the palace. And I wonder if Joseph ever lay on that stone floor at night thinking, maybe I imagined it. Maybe the dream was foolishness. Maybe I should just accept that this is my life now. If he did, he was wrong. And if you have thought it, so are you. And remember David. While his brothers stood in armor looking impressive, David was in a field with sheep, overlooked, unlisted, uninvited. When the prophet Samuel came to anoint a king, David's own father did not even call him in from the field. His own father, chosen one. Do you understand what that means for you? The people closest to you can look right at you and not see the crown. The world can leave your name off every list, and heaven can still write it at the top of one. The oil found David in a field, not in a lineup. The anointing does not need your resume. It needs your location, and your location is wherever obedience has placed you. So stop asking why the applications came back with silence. Stop replaying the interviews that went nowhere, the emails that were never answered, the positions that were given to people with half your fire. What if the rejection was protection? What if God shut those doors the way a father pulls a child back from a road, not to punish you, but because he could see the traffic you could not? Some of those jobs would have paid you just enough to forget who you are. Some of those offices would have been comfortable coffins. You were not turned away, chosen one. You were turned around. There is a man listening right now who has sent out over 200 applications this year. He has a folder on his laptop full of cover letters, each one a small act of self-betrayal, each one bending his story a little further to fit somebody else's mold. And every night he refreshes his inbox and feels the silence like a verdict. Sir, hear me. Heaven is not silent about you. The world's silence is not God's answer. Sometimes the doors stay shut because the builder is still finishing the house you are actually meant to enter, and it would be cruelty, not kindness, to let you settle for a room when he is preparing you a territory. Now let me tell you what looks like inconsistency from the outside. From the outside, you look like someone who cannot commit. You quit the job that everyone said was a blessing. You lost interest in the career you spent years training for. You start projects and set them down. Your family whispers about it. But from the inside, from the spirit side, something else is happening. That is spiritual resistance. That is your inner man refusing to sign a contract heaven never authorized. The same stubbornness they criticize is the very thing that has kept your calling alive through years of pressure to abandon it. A weaker soul would have surrendered by now. A weaker soul would be comfortably numb in year 12 of a life that was never theirs. You could not settle, and your inability to settle is not your flaw, it is your evidence. So where does your real work begin? Not where the salary begins, not where the title begins. Your real work begins where your obedience begins. And obedience, chosen one, does not always look like activity. Sometimes obedience looks like silence when everyone demands an explanation. Sometimes obedience looks like rest when the whole world is running. Sometimes obedience is writing pages nobody has read yet, building a thing in the dark with no applause and no audience. Sometimes obedience is a project that produces no money for a season, and every practical voice in your life calls it a waste, and heaven calls it a foundation. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness tending sheep before the bush ever burned. 40 years that looked like nothing. 40 years that his old life in Egypt would have called failure. But God does not waste wilderness. God stores it. And when the fire finally spoke, it did not speak to the prince. It spoke to the shepherd the wilderness had made. What the world calls risky, heaven calls alignment. Write that on the inside of your chest. When Peter stepped out of the boat, every fisherman in that vessel could have told him the statistics on walking on water. The boat was the sensible option. The boat was the secure path. But the voice was not in the boat. The voice was out on the waves. And the only unsafe place for a chosen one is anywhere the voice is not. You were not created to hustle for survival. Read that again with your spirit. You were created to transform how others survive. There is a difference the size of eternity between those two lives. One life spends itself keeping one person fed. The other life becomes bread for multitudes. You were not sent here to fill positions. Positions can be filled by anyone with the right keywords on a page. You were sent to create space, space where other people can finally breathe, finally hear, finally find truth they have been starving for. You were sent to lead people who do not even know yet that they are lost. You were sent to heal wounds that hospitals have no code for. You were sent to reveal things, to say the sentence that unlocks somebody's prison, to build something that carries the presence of God into rooms where the church will never go, into industries and neighborhoods and screens and conversations that no pulpit will ever reach. That is why a job cannot hold you. You are not an employee in the spirit. You are an embassy. Understand what happens when you chase jobs instead of assignment. Chasing jobs shrinks your purpose down until it fits inside someone else's agenda. Your gifts become line items. Your fire becomes output. Your one wild, holy life becomes a resource to be allocated. But chasing obedience does the opposite. Obedience expands life. Obedience opens territory. Every yes to God stretches you into rooms you could not have applied for. And here is the promise underneath it all, the one your bills have been shouting over. Provision follows assignment. It always has. The ravens fed Elijah at the brook because the brook was where God sent him. The widow's oil did not run out because her jar was large, but because her obedience was. When you stand where you are sent, doors begin to open that no resume can unlock. Doors with no handles on the outside. Doors that only open from heaven's side. There is a woman in her 40s listening right now who thinks she missed it. She thinks the window closed somewhere in her 20s while she was doing the responsible thing, raising the kids, paying the mortgage, holding the family together with hands nobody thanked. She looks at younger people starting out and feels a grief she cannot name. Ma'am, hear the word of the Lord. You did not miss it. Sarah laughed at a promise that came decades late by human math, and the promise came anyway, and they named the child Laughter. So no one would ever forget that God is not embarrassed by delays. Your assignment did not expire. It waited. It is waiting still, and it will recognize you the moment you turn toward it. Chosen ones do not beg for opportunities. Chosen ones walk into assignments that have been waiting on their yes. Do you feel the difference in your chest? One posture bows to gatekeepers. The other answers a summons. And let me correct one more lie before this chapter closes. You thought the goal was satisfaction. You thought if you just found the right job, the right fit, the right culture, the ache would finally stop. But satisfaction was never the goal, chosen one. Transformation was. You were not looking for a comfortable seat. You were looking for a burning bush. Nothing less will ever quiet you, and that is by design. Think of Nehemiah on the wall. He was a servant in a foreign king's palace, a man with a stable position and a clear job description. And one report about a broken city set him on fire. He left the palace to build, and when his enemies tried to lure him down into meetings, into negotiations, into distraction, he sent back one sentence that every chosen one should memorize. "I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down." Chosen one, that is your sentence now. The world will keep sending invitations down to the plain, keep offering you sensible reasons to abandon the wall, keep telling you that what you are building is not real until it pays. Let your answer be his answer. You are doing a great work. You cannot come down. The wall does not need your explanation. It needs your hands. And notice something about every builder God ever called. Noah built for decades under a clear sky, hammering wood while the neighbors laughed, because the instruction was louder to him than the weather. Not one drop of rain validated him until the day it validated him completely. Your obedience may look exactly like that right now. Absurd in the sunshine, unemployable, unexplainable, a boat in a desert. Build anyway. The rain does not consult public opinion. It consults the calendar of God. So let heaven say over you what no manager ever will. You were born to lead from a place no man can validate. No panel can approve you into it, and no rejection can remove you from it. The interviews that went nowhere have no jurisdiction over it. The degrees you did or did not finish cannot touch it. Heaven has already approved you. The signature is already on the scroll. The only question that remains is not whether you are qualified. The only question is whether you will stop asking the world for a permission slip that God signed before you were born. Before we go further, remember the question I asked you to hold near the beginning of this message about what was taken and whether it can be returned. I have not forgotten it. Everything since then has been drawing the shape of a problem, and once you can see a shape completely, the answer stops being information and becomes a key. The shape is almost complete. Keep holding the question. They told you that you are wasting your potential. You have heard it so many times you could recite it in their voices. Your mother said it softly over dinner, with worry folded into every word. Your father said it with an edge, because his love only knows one language, and that language is provision. Your teachers said it in report cards. So much ability, so little application. Your friends said it with their eyes, at the reunions, at the weddings, in the group chats where everyone else announced promotions. These are people who love you. I will not tell you they do not. But hear this clearly, chosen one. Love without understanding still wounds. They love the person they can see. They have never once met the person God is building. They are measuring a temple by the scaffolding. So they gave your condition a name: lazy, unmotivated, drifting, not living up to it. And because you had no other word, you took theirs and carved it into yourself. You called yourself lazy in the mirror. You apologized for your own existence in rooms full of busy people, but I have come to give the thing its true name. What the world calls laziness, heaven calls divine resistance. There is a force operating in your life that they cannot perceive, and it is not weakness pulling you down. It is a hand holding you back. You know the heaviness I mean, that strange gravity that arrives the moment you try to do what everyone else does. You sit down to grind out the applications, and your whole body turns to stone. You take the sensible job, and within weeks, a fog rolls over your mind that no coffee can burn away. You force yourself through the commute, through the stand-up meeting, through the smiling, and by evening you are so exhausted you cannot remember your own dreams. And you thought that heaviness was your enemy. Chosen one, what if that heaviness is heaven? What if that resistance is God Himself pressing back against the world's expectations on your behalf, the way a father's arm comes across the chest of a child when the car stops short? Not every weight is a curse. Some weights are a hand. Your body gets tired in ways sleep does not fix. Your soul withdraws from things everyone else calls normal. You cancel plans and cannot explain why. You sit in the parking lot for 10 extra minutes because walking into that building costs you something invisible and enormous. This is not a lack of discipline. Discipline is not your problem. Look at how relentlessly you have pursued the things that actually belong to you. The reading at midnight, the ideas you cannot stop sketching, the prayer that ambushes you in the shower. You have discipline in abundance for your assignment. What you do not have is grace for someone else's. Because you were never meant to build another man's dream at the cost of your own calling. The Lord does not lend out his instruments. He does not anoint your hands for one thing and then bless their captivity to another. Here is where the whole confusion begins. The world and heaven are keeping score with different scoreboards. The world measures busyness. It counts hours, meetings, hustle, the performance of exhaustion. The world measures productivity, units, metrics, output per quarter. The world measures money, and whoever holds the most is assumed to matter the most. But heaven has never once used that scoreboard. Heaven measures obedience. Heaven measures alignment. Heaven asks one question at the end of every day, and it is not, how much did you produce? It is, were you where I sent you? By the world's scoreboard, a man rushing in the wrong direction is winning. By heavens, a woman standing still in the right place is further ahead than every runner on the road. That is why you can do less in the eyes of the world and accomplish more in the spirit. One obedient conversation can outweigh a decade of employment. One surrendered season can shift a bloodline. Elijah learned this on the mountain when the Lord passed by. The wind tore the rocks apart, and God was not in the wind. The earthquake shook the ground, and God was not in the earthquake. The fire roared, and God was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice, a whisper, chosen one. The world is wind and earthquake and fire, all noise and force and spectacle, and it keeps asking why you will not join the roaring. You will not join it because you are listening for the whisper, and you cannot hear a whisper while you are running with a crowd. They judge your human actions because your spiritual assignment is invisible to them. That is all they can do. A man who has never seen a seed will call a farmer foolish for burying good grain in the dirt. Your family sees you burying years, burying opportunities, burying potential, and they grieve because no one ever taught them about seasons. They cannot see that underground is not the same as wasted. They cannot see roots. So let them misread you gently, without bitterness, because their eyes are not the eyes that matter, and the harvest will explain what you never could. And in a little while I'm going to connect the heaviness you have just recognized to something measured in a laboratory, a finding that explains, in plain physical terms, why the stillness you were built for became so hard to reach. When those two things meet, the divine and the measurable, something about your whole story is going to make sense at last. And understand what this season actually is, because it has a purpose beyond endurance. You are being retrained. You are being emptied of old programming, and emptying is slow, uncomfortable work. Every belief the system installed in you, that your worth is your output, that rest must be earned, that safety comes from pleasing the right people, that you are behind, all of it is being drained out of you, drop by drop, to make room for divine instruction. You cannot pour new wine into old wineskins. The skins burst, and the wine is lost. So God is making you a new skin, and it feels like being unmade, because it is. What you have been calling a breakdown may be a renovation. What you have been calling lost years may be the deprogramming that every chosen one must pass through before heaven can trust them with the download. Stillness looks like failure to a world addicted to hustle. never forget that the addiction is theirs, not a standard you owe. A generation that cannot sit in a quiet room for 10 minutes is not qualified to diagnose your waiting. They medicate their emptiness with motion and then call your stillness a disease. But the psalmist did not write, "Hurry and know that I am God." He wrote, "Be still." Stillness is not the absence of progress. Stillness is where the deepest progress happens, in the sealed room, in the hidden place, where God does his most important work precisely because no audience is watching and no metric is recording it. So hear this and let it unclench something in you. You do not have to prove your worth, not to your father, not to the relatives who ask what you are doing these days with that particular tone, not to the version of yourself that keeps prosecuting you at 2 in the morning. Your worth was settled before your first breath, before you had produced anything, achieved anything, earned anything. God did not begin loving you when you became useful, and he will not stop when the world says you are not. The exhausting performance can end tonight. You can lay it down like a heavy coat at the door. And the very thing you are most ashamed of, look at it again. The fact that you cannot function like the masses is not your flaw. It is your confirmation. If you could happily disappear into the machine, you would not be who you are. The misfit is the mark. Your mind was wired for divine downloads, for ideas that arrive whole at strange hours, for understanding that comes without study, for dreams that feel more like memos than sleep. Your heart carries sacred burdens, griefs for people you have never met, intercession that rises in you uninvited, a weight for a generation that no one assigned you and no one can take away. That kind of equipment is not issued for cubicle work. Nobody installs an altar in a break room. Now, I will be honest with you, because a true word must cut both ways. Not every refusal is holy. So take this question into your prayer closet and ask it without flinching. Is this disobedience or is this divine resistance? Am I avoiding what God said or avoiding what only men said? You will know the difference by the fruit in your spirit. Disobedience carries a low hum of guilt, a hiding, an Adam in the trees. Divine resistance carries a strange peace underneath the pressure, a stillness at the center of the storm, a knowing that will not let you go even when you cannot defend it. If your no has peace under it, keep standing. If it has hiding under it, come out and get realigned. Either way, come honest, because the stakes are real. The wrong yes delays the right calling. Every counterfeit assignment you accept pushes the true one further down the calendar. The wrong job does not just tire you, it dims you. It lowers the flame God has been growing in you until you can pass for ordinary. And passing for ordinary is the most dangerous thing a chosen one can learn to do. Saul kept the best of the sheep when God said otherwise. One reasonable, practical, defensible yes to the wrong thing, and it cost him a kingdom. Guard your yes, chosen one. It is the most powerful word you own. Divine flow is not fast, but it is right. The seed does not apologize to the farmer for taking a season. The tide has never once been early or late. You may look around today and see no title beside your name, no income like the others, no office, no ladder, nothing to say at the dinner table when they ask. But you have something the titled and salaried would weep for if they understood it. You have heaven's hand on your life, and heaven's hand is worth more than the world's applause every hour of every day, in every economy that has ever risen or fallen. So hear the decree over your waiting. The delay is not denial. Say it until your nervous system believes it. The delay is not denial, and the resistance is redirection. That closed door was a rudder. That heaviness was a compass. God has been steering you with the very things you thought were sinking you. From now on, move when the Spirit moves you, and only then. not when panic moves you, not when comparison moves you, not when the calendar shames you into motion. The children of Israel moved when the cloud moved and camped when it rested, and the cloud was never once wrong. And if in this season you feel pulled toward rest, pulled to withdraw, pulled to realign, do not fight it. Do not let the world guilt you out of the wilderness where God is speaking. He may be preserving you, hiding you like Elijah at the brook, like David in the cave, keeping your strength sealed for something so much greater than anything you could have spent it on this year. Remember the house in Bethany, 2 sisters and 1 Lord. Martha was everything the world rewards, moving, serving, producing, sweating over 100 necessary things. Mary sat down at the feet of Jesus and did nothing the eye could measure. And Martha did what the busy always do to the still. She accused her, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to do the work alone? Tell her to help me." Listen to the answer, because it is heaven's verdict on this entire chapter. Martha, Martha, you are worried and troubled about many things, but one thing is needed, and Mary has chosen the good part, which will not be taken away from her. The good part, the sitting, the listening, the thing that looked like laziness to the one holding the dishes. Jesus did not scold the still one, chosen one. He defended her, and he is defending you right now in rooms you will never see, at tables where your name is spoken with a sigh. And consider Jesus himself, the most purposeful man who ever walked this earth. Whole cities lined up at the door for healing, real needs, urgent needs, needs that could be measured. And the record says, he withdrew to lonely places and prayed. He walked away from waiting crowds because his agenda came from his Father and not from the demand. If the Son of God would not let urgency write his schedule, why have you let it write yours? He looked at his exhausted friends and said, "Come away by yourselves to a quiet place and rest a while." That was not a suggestion for the weak. That was a command from the strong. Rest is not your rebellion against the assignment. Rest is part of the assignment. There is a man in his 50s listening right now who just lost the position he gave 20 years to. 1 meeting, 1 folder, 1 handshake, and 2 decades dissolved like sugar in the rain. He is ashamed to tell his wife how relieved some hidden part of him feels, and terrified of the relief, and terrified of the fear. Sir, hear this. What was taken from you could never have carried you where you are going. God sometimes has to close a man's Egypt to open his wilderness, because there are voices you can only hear once the machine stops humming. Your severance is not your ending. It is your commissioning papers, printed in a language you are just beginning to read. And there is a young woman who walked away from the career everyone praised, and now she sits in the gap between what she left and what she cannot yet see. And the silence is eating her. Daughter, the vine dresser is not absent. Every branch that bears fruit he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. And pruning always looks like loss to the branch. You have not been cut down. You have been cut back. And there is a difference. The springtime will explain. What is growing in you now, in this stripped and quiet season, will bear more in 1 year than the old life would have borne in 20. Comment 33 below if you know this word was for you. And hold on to that stillness we just spoke about, because everything I am about to show you flows directly out of it. Now lift your head, because this chapter ends with your vindication already written. Let them talk, let them assume, let them hold their meetings about your life and reach their small conclusions. None of it moves heaven's calendar by a single hour. While they are talking, you are being positioned quietly, precisely, for what heaven prepared before any of them learned your name. The table is already being set in the presence of everyone who misunderstood you, so do not rush now, do not grab now, do not shrink now. Your assignment is too holy to be rushed, and the God who kept it for you this long will not lose it in the last mile. Stay in the flow. Move with the whisper. The world will understand later. Heaven understands now. Now let me step out of the language of preachers for a moment and speak to you plainly, because you deserve to understand exactly what has been happening to you, not in metaphor, in mechanics. Here is the why. You have wondered for years why rest does not restore you, why prayer feels like reaching through fog, why the stillness we just honored is so hard to enter, even when you want it more than anything. It is not because your faith is weak. It is because the instrument you use to become still, your mind, has been running in a divided state for most of your adult life. Here is the what. Your mind was designed with two sides that are meant to work as one. When they do, you get the state children live in: quick learning, clear hearing, ideas that arrive whole, peace that does not have to be forced. When they fall out of step, and modern life pulls them out of step year after year, you get exactly what you have been describing to yourself at 2 in the morning. Fog, hesitation, a whisper you can sense but cannot quite hear. And here is the who. This is not a rare affliction reserved for broken people. It is the ordinary condition of almost every adult in this age. But it lands hardest on people like you, people whose entire assignment depends on hearing clearly. Which is why I believe what I am about to tell you was put in my path for the ones listening to this message. In 1981, a neuroscientist named Dr. Roger Sperry received the Nobel Prize for research that quietly answers the question I asked you to hold at the beginning of this message. His split-brain research proved that the two hemispheres of the human brain were designed to work in synchronization, and that when they do, the mind enters a state researchers call whole brain activation. In that state, learning accelerates, insight arrives without strain, and what people describe as luck, being in the right place, noticing the open door at the exact right second, becomes strangely ordinary. And here is the finding that should stop you where you stand. Measured against creativity benchmarks, 98% of young children operate at what researchers classify as creative genius level. Fewer than 1 adult in 1,000 keeps it. Not because we grow dull, but because the way we now live, the noise, the screens, the survival pressure, the 40-hour molds we have spent this whole message naming, pulls the two halves of the mind out of step, slowly, from childhood on. That is not spiritual failure, that is physiology. The people this world calls geniuses, the inventors and the artists who describe ideas arriving like dictation, are largely people who, by some grace, never lost the synchronized state the rest of us were trained out of. A woman from California described what the divided state had cost her. A nurse, sincere, prayerful, faithful, and for years, she said, life simply happened to her, as if she were watching it through glass. She had tried every practice her community offered and kept hitting the same wall. She believed every word and could not feel any of it. 10 days after she found what I am about to describe, she said something in her simply cleared, like a channel that had been blocked her whole adult life, was suddenly open. A man from Texas told the same story from the other side of it. A business owner with 2 children, carrying everyone around him, and doing it, in his words, on a mind wrapped in wool. Prayer had started to feel like talking into a wall. 2 weeks in, he woke up, and the fog was gone. A fog so constant he had stopped calling it fog and started calling it himself. His decisions sharpened. The stuck things moved. What returned was not something new. It was his. Both of them had found the work of a team of neuroscientists in New York, led by Dr. Daniel Barone. Dr. Barone and his colleagues took over an hour of the clinical neural sync technology used in specialized medical settings. The kind of whole brain activation protocol that normally requires equipment and appointments, and spent years compressing and refining it into a single 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. 8 minutes a day, headphones on, eyes closed. That is the entire requirement. They call it the Genius Switch. It is not a meditation app. It is not a mood track or one more sound to relax to. It is an auditory sequence engineered on the foundation of Dr. Sperry's Nobel Prize research to draw the two hemispheres back into the synchronized state that was your default as a child. There is nothing to master, nothing to recite, no for a discipline to sustain. It works beneath your awareness while you simply sit still, which, if you have been listening tonight, is exactly the posture you were being prepared for. And understand what it stands beside. In-person neurofeedback runs $300 an hour. The machines built for home use cost around $7,000. Meditation can touch the same state, but honest teachers will tell you it takes months of daily practice that most working people cannot sustain. This was built to be the low door into the same room. The Genius Switch is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who has done the sincere work for years, the stillness, the obedience, the waiting, and who is ready to stop treating the fog as a character flaw and start treating it as something with an address. Most people will scroll past this. They have accepted the reduced version of their own mind as permanent. You are still here, this deep into this message. That is not an accident, and it is not a small thing. When colleagues saw what the team had built, they told Dr. Barone it would be worth $500, and next to a $7,000 machine, they were not wrong. It was not released at 500 or 200 or 100. It was released at 49, and today on the official page there is a further $10 off, $39. And they place 4 gifts beside it. A guided visualization from one of the top-rated creators on the Calm app, walking you through your life unfolding in money, love, health, and happiness. A smart grocery guide naming the 10 common foods that feed the fog, and 5 shortcuts that save families more than $100 a month. A classic book more than a century old, The Quiet Root of Everything the Modern Abundance Teachers Repackaged, and a beautifully designed page of the 5 daily habits that protect the restored state, made to be printed and kept where you can see it. And if some part of you is whispering that this sounds too good to be true, that instinct deserves an answer, not a dismissal. The answer is the guarantee, unconditional, 100%. Listen once or listen 80 times if it does not do for you what it has done for more than 18,000 people. Every dollar comes back, no conditions, no forms to argue over. The risk was deliberately taken off your side of the table. I will not manufacture pressure, because heaven does not work that way. I will only say what this entire message has been saying. Provision follows the one who can recognize it. What God has already placed near you becomes visible to a synchronized mind. In a way it simply is not, to a divided one, not because the provision moves, but because the receiver does. What has been arranged for you is already in motion. The only question is the condition you arrive in. One caution, named plainly, if you search the big platforms for tracks with similar names, you will find them. Dr. Barone's team studied those tracks, and most carried no neural sync technology at all, only a borrowed label, because borrowing a label costs nothing. The mechanism is the difference, and the mechanism exists in one place. The only verified source is the official page, and that is where the link below leads. So if your spirit is resonating right now, the link is in the description and in the pinned comment, nowhere else. You can read every detail on their page before deciding anything. Take those 8 minutes as seriously as you have taken everything else tonight, and now set the tool back down on the table, because a tool is all it is, It does not replace God. It does not obey for you, surrender for you, or walk through a single door on your behalf. What God is doing in you was never conditional on it. The deeper current of this message is where we return. Now, chosen one, hear this and let it settle into the deepest part of you. God did not send you into this world empty-handed. Before your mother ever held you, before your lungs ever pulled in their first breath, heaven held a meeting about you. And in that meeting, something was decided, something was crafted, something was placed inside you with intention, with precision, with purpose, a gift, not a hobby, not a pastime, not a little talent to entertain yourself with on quiet weekends, a divine tool forged in the workshop of heaven, fitted to your hands alone, and sealed inside your spirit before time ever knew your name. You did not arrive here to figure out what to do with your life. You arrived here carrying the answer. The gift is not something extra. It is not the bonus feature. It is not the side dish on the plate of your existence. It is the main thing. It is the reason the breath entered your body in the first place. And yet, how long have you treated it like an afterthought? How long have you buried the very thing heaven spent eternity preparing? Think about how you have searched. Be honest with yourself right now. You searched for purpose in positions, hoping a job title would finally tell you who you are. You searched for purpose in people, hoping someone's approval would finally make you feel chosen. You searched for purpose in places, thinking that if you could just move to the right city, the right church, the right circle, everything would click into place. And every time, the search ended the same way. Empty, restless, still hungry, because you were digging in the wrong field. The treasure was never out there. It was buried in you the whole time. Stop looking outward. Start looking inward. The kingdom of God is within you, and so is the assignment. Do you remember Moses standing in the wilderness, making excuses before a burning bush? He told God he was not enough. He told God he could not speak. He told God to send someone else. And what did God ask him? Not, where is your degree? Not, where is your experience? God asked him one question: what is in your hand? And Moses looked down at an ordinary shepherd's staff, a piece of dead wood he had carried for 40 years without a second thought. That ordinary thing became the instrument that split a sea, struck a rock, and shattered an empire. The thing Moses overlooked was the thing God intended to use. And chosen one, the thing you have overlooked is the thing God intends to use in you. Here is where the enemy deceived you, and I need you to see the deception clearly so it loses its power. You downplayed what comes naturally to you because it felt too easy. You assumed that if it did not exhaust you, it could not be valuable. You believed real work must be hard, must grind you down, must cost you your joy, or it does not count. Where did that lie come from? Not from heaven. The divine does not flow through struggle. The divine flows through grace. When Bezalel built the tabernacle, Scripture says God filled him with the Spirit, with wisdom, with understanding, and with skill in every kind of craft. His hands moved with an ease that other men could not explain because the ability was not manufactured. It was imparted. The ease was the evidence. So pay attention to your own ease, that thing you do that makes hours disappear, that thing people keep thanking you for even though it felt effortless to you, the ease you feel when you speak and rooms grow quiet, the ease you feel when you create and something beautiful appears that was not there before, the ease you feel when you guide someone through confusion, when you write and the words arrive like rain, when you sit with the broken and they leave lighter, when you build, when you organize chaos into order, when you lead and people follow without you demanding it. That ease is not a coincidence. That ease is confirmation. That ease is the fingerprint of God on your function. And if something stirred in you a few minutes ago when the mind was mentioned, That door is still open in the description. Whenever you are ready, it is a small step. But small steps taken from a restored mind have turned entire seasons. But the world got to you, did it not? The world told you to be realistic. The world looked at your gift and called it impractical. A teacher shrugged at it. A parent worried over it. A friend laughed at it. Someone you respected told you to get your head out of the clouds, to find something stable, to grow up. And little by little, you folded the gift up like an old letter and put it in a drawer, and you went out and became what everyone else needed you to be. Realistic, reasonable, quietly miserable. Hear the message of God tonight, because it overrides every voice that ever shrank you. What heaven placed in you is not up for the world's approval. The world did not give you the gift, so the world does not get to grade it. When they said your gift was not enough, they were measuring heaven's craftsmanship with a broken ruler. God does not create insufficiency. God does not plant seeds that cannot grow. Every gift he gives is complete, potent, and loaded with provision. The question was never whether the gift was enough. The question was whether you would honor it and understand why the gift was given, because it was never only about you. Your gift is for impact. It is for waking people up who have been sleepwalking through their own lives. It is for healing broken places that medicine cannot reach. It is for bringing clarity into minds tangled with confusion. It is for shining light into rooms of hopelessness where people have forgotten that mourning exists. Somewhere out there is a person whose breakthrough is chained to your obedience. Somewhere out there is a family, a community, a generation, waiting on the very thing you keep calling too small. The enemy knew this. Oh, he knew it before you did. He read the assignment on you when you were young. That is why the attack came so early and aimed so precisely. He did not attack your weaknesses, chosen one. He attacked your gift. He attacked your confidence in the exact area where you carried the most power. He arranged for you to be mocked right after you shared something you made. He arranged for you to be interrupted, overlooked, and talked over in the very rooms where your voice carried the most weight. He whispered that you were too much, and then in the next breath whispered that you were not enough, until you learned to sit down, stay quiet, and shrink. The silencing was strategic. The discouragement was targeted. You were never randomly wounded. You were specifically opposed, because you are specifically anointed. But I am telling you now, by the authority of the one who made you, the season of shrinking is over. You have apologized for your light long enough. You have played small in rooms that needed your fire. You have swallowed words that could have set someone free. No more. The days of hiding the lamp under the basket are finished, because a city on a hill cannot be hidden, and you, chosen one, were built on a hill. Understand what heaven is doing in this hour. Heaven is not hiring employees. Heaven is not posting job listings or reviewing resumes. Heaven is commissioning. Heaven is sending out messengers with words that cut through the noise of this age. Heaven is sending out healers whose presence alone shifts atmospheres. Heaven is sending out prophets who see what is coming and prepare the people. Heaven is sending out creatives who paint and sing and film and design the evidence of another kingdom. Heaven is sending out teachers who make the complicated simple and builders who lay down spiritual infrastructure for a generation that has nowhere solid to stand. That is the workforce of this hour. And your name is on the list. And no, you do not need a business card. You do not need a degree hanging on a wall. You do not need a title, a certification, a committee's blessing, or a single letter of recommendation. When David walked out to face the giant, he had no armor that fit him and no rank in the army. He had a sling and a history with God, and that was enough. The gift is your calling card. The gift makes room for you. Scripture says it plainly. A man's gift opens doors for him and brings him before great men. Not his resume, his gift. And here is the part the world never told you. Provision is attached to it. The same God who assigns also supplies. When God gives an assignment, he does not send you out to starve. The ravens fed Elijah. The jar of oil did not run dry. The 5 loaves fed 5,000. Heaven has never once defaulted on a divine assignment. But let me warn you gently, because I love you enough to tell you the truth. An unhonored gift does not just sit quietly in storage. An unhonored gift becomes a burden. It ferments. It aches. It aches. That low hum of anxiety you could never explain. That restlessness that followed you into every job, every relationship, every vacation that was supposed to fix you. That feeling of being homesick in your own life. That was not a disorder. That was misused purpose. That was the gift groaning inside you like a seed pressing against dry ground, begging for soil. Jeremiah knew this feeling. He tried to stay silent, and he said the word became like fire shut up in his bones, and he grew weary of holding it in, and he could not. Chosen one, you cannot either. That is why nothing else has ever satisfied you. You were not built to contain the gift. You were built to release it. The gift demands expression, not for applause, not for followers or fame, or the fleeting approval of strangers. It demands expression for kingdom movement, because every time you release what is in you, something shifts in the earth that you cannot see. A chain loosens somewhere. A mind opens somewhere. A door of hope cracks in a dark room somewhere. Your obedience has ripples you will not fully witness until eternity replays the footage. So where do you begin? You begin where Moses began. You begin with what is already in your hand, not what you wish were in your hand. Not what will be in your hand after one more course, one more qualification, one more season of getting ready. What is in your hand right now? That vision you keep sketching in the margins. That voice that steadies people when their world is shaking. That burning idea that has survived every attempt you made to kill it. That burden you carry for people who are hurting the way you once hurt, because your deepest wound became your deepest well, and the comfort you received is now the comfort you are called to give. Do not tell me it is too small. The boy on the hillside had 5 loaves and 2 fish in a crowd of thousands, and logic laughed at the math. But he placed the small thing into the hands of Jesus, and the small thing became a feast with baskets left over. Heaven has never been limited by the size of the seed, only by the willingness of the sower. And do not tell me it is too late. Abraham was 75 when the promise found him. Moses was 80 when the bush caught fire. Anna was widowed and old when she beheld the child she had prayed for through decades of waiting. There is no expiration date on a divine assignment. God's calendar does not run on the world's deadlines. As long as there is breath in your body, the assignment is live. And release yourself from that last quiet fear, the one you barely admit, the fear that stepping into your power is somehow pride. Listen to me. Walking in your gift is not arrogance. It is not self-promotion. It is faithfulness. Remember the parable of the talents. The master did not rebuke the servants who multiplied what they were given. He rebuked the one who buried his talent in the ground because he was afraid. Fear dressed itself up as humility, and the master called it what it was, unfaithfulness. The truly humble thing, the truly obedient thing, is to take what God placed in you and put it to work in the open where it can multiply. Hiding is not humility. Hiding is disobedience wearing a modest costume. So here is your new posture, chosen one. Your job is not to find a job. Your job is to find flow. Find the current of grace that carries you when you operate in your gift, and get in that water and stay there. Stop chasing people, positions, and platforms. When you flow in what heaven built you for, those who need what you carry will find you. The deep calls to deep. The hungry can smell bread. You do not have to advertise an oasis to people dying of thirst. Simply honor the gift, pour into it, sharpen it, release it daily, and watch how the assignment reveals itself one obedient step at a time, like a path lighting up beneath your feet, only as fast as you are willing to walk it. Picture what tomorrow could look like if you believe this. You wake before the alarm because something in you is eager again. You open the notebook instead of the job listings. You make the phone call you have postponed for a year. You record the first message, sew the first garment, sketch the first design, mentor the first young person, pray over the first stranger who crosses your path. Nothing about the day looks historic from the outside, but in the spirit, a ribbon has been cut. A gate has swung open, and heaven marks the date, because heaven always marks the day. A chosen one finally says yes to what was placed inside them before the foundation of the world. Comment 555 below so I know you are waking up to what is already inside you. Your gift needs a clear mind to flow through. Hold on to that, because everything that remains tonight is going to build on it. Somebody listening right now has a notebook full of ideas gathering dust in a drawer, and heaven is saying, open it. Somebody listening right now has been told they talk too much, and heaven is saying that mouth was made for microphones and pulpits and rooms full of people who need truth. Somebody listening right now rocks babies to sleep with songs they wrote themselves, and heaven is saying those melodies carry healing beyond your living room. This is not a coincidence that you are hearing this today. This is a summons. The gift is the assignment, chosen one. It always was. Stop searching for your purpose. Start serving your gift. The gift is the assignment. Walk in it. Now lean in, chosen one, because what I am about to tell you explains everything you have been feeling. Something massive is shifting in the spirit realm right now. Not slowly, not someday. Right now, in this very season, while the world scrolls past unaware. And if you have felt strange lately, if you have felt restless in places that used to feel comfortable, if you have felt like your skin no longer fits your old life, if you have been waking up at odd hours with a stirring you cannot name, hear me clearly. You are not broken. You are not losing your mind. You are being activated. What you are feeling is not a breakdown. It is a briefing. Heaven is downloading new orders, and your spirit received them before your mind could translate them. Here is the translation. The old economy is collapsing for you. Notice, I said for you, because the chosen do not get to live like everyone else. And deep down, you have always known that. The grind is collapsing for you. The hustle that demanded your health and your presence and your peace as the price of survival, collapsing. The scarcity mindset that taught you to grab and clutch and fear, collapsing. The desperate job searches, the rewritten resumes at midnight, the interviews where you performed a smaller version of yourself for people who could not see you anyway, all of it collapsing. And I know it has felt like failure. I know you have sat in your car and asked God why every door keeps closing, but listen to the answer. Those doors are not opening because they were never meant to open. God is not withholding from you. God is redirecting you. A closed door is not rejection when it is God's hand on the handle. He shut those doors the way a father locks a gate at the edge of a cliff. Because while one economy collapses, another is being unveiled. God is launching his chosen ones into a new economy, an economy the stock market cannot measure and the news will never report. An economy built not on speculation and scarcity, but on purpose, presence, and power. In the wilderness, Israel woke every morning to manna that no farmer had planted and no merchant had sold. It simply appeared, faithful as the dawn, because provision in God's economy has never depended on human systems. The systems are shaking now, chosen one, but the manna never shook. Understand what currency means in this new economy, because it is not money as the world defines it. The world defines wealth as accumulation, numbers on a screen, leverage and interest, and anxiety compounding daily. Heaven defines wealth as divine flow. In this economy, provision follows obedience. Read that again with your spirit. Provision follows obedience. Elijah was told to go to the brook, and the ravens were commanded to feed him there. Not anywhere. There. The provision was waiting at the coordinates of his obedience. Then the brook dried up, and the word came again, "Go to Zarephath." And a widow's last handful of flour became a pantry that would not empty. The provision moved when the assignment moved. Resources in the kingdom are not chased. They are attracted. They gather around alignment, the way iron gathers around a magnet, not because you strained harder, but because you stood in the right place. But you were taught something very different, were you not? You were taught from childhood that you cannot survive without an employer. That safety has a logo on it, that your worth is a salary, and your future is a pension, and your permission to eat comes from a hiring manager. The system needed you to believe that, because a person who believes it will hand over their gift for wages and call it security. Chosen one, that teaching was a leash, not a truth. Your survival was never tied to an employer. Your calling is tied to impact. And here is the law of the new economy. Write it on your heart. Where there is impact, there is provision. Feed people, and you will be fed. Free people, and resources will find you. Solve what heaven sent you to solve, and heaven underwrites the operation. The workman is worthy of his wages, Jesus said, and he said it while sending people out with no bag, no bread, and no money, because the sending itself carried the supply. Now look at who is building this new economy, because it is not who the world would have drafted. This economy is being built by the ones who never fit the world's boxes. The ones who were told they were too intense, too sensitive, too spiritual, too much. The ones who got passed over for promotions because their light unsettled the room. The ones who could never fully give their hearts to meaningless work, no matter how hard they tried, because their hearts already belonged to an assignment they had not yet met. When David gathered his army in the cave of Adullam, Scripture says the distressed came to him, the indebted, the discontented, the ones who had no place in Saul's system. And those misfits became mighty men whose names are recorded forever. God has always built his new thing out of the people the old thing rejected. Your rejection was your recruitment. And breathe this in, because it will heal something in you. This new economy does not ask you to compromise your soul. It does not ask you to pretend, to shrink, to laugh at what is not funny, to stay silent about what is true, to wear a face that is not yours for 8 hours a day, and then try to remember who you are on the drive home. The old economy charged your soul as a transaction fee. The new one does not accept that currency. It refuses it. In this economy, you bring your whole self, your scars, your fire, your strange holy hunger, and instead of being penalized for it, you are paid because of it. And the payment is real. It pays in peace that guards your heart like a soldier at the gate. It pays in power that flows through your words and your hands. It pays in prosperity that does not require your exhaustion as collateral, the blessing of the Lord that makes rich and adds no sorrow with it. And if you doubt that this economy is real, lift your eyes and look around, because the evidence is everywhere for those with eyes to see. Spirit-led entrepreneurs are rising, building businesses that feel like ministries, and ministries that sustain like businesses. Prophetic voices that were once confined to small back rooms are finding platforms that reach nations from a bedroom desk. Healing hands are opening practices, and the weary are lining up at their doors. Writers are publishing words that set captives free, words typed at kitchen tables after the children fall asleep, now traveling into prisons and hospitals, and midnight phone screens at the exact moment someone was giving up. Artists are awakening souls that sermons could not reach. Mentors are fathering the fatherless. Coaches are calling out buried greatness. Teachers are simplifying the mysteries. Seers are giving language to what whole generations have felt but could not say. This is not a trend, chosen one. This is a migration. The kingdom workforce is crossing over, and the sound you hear in the spirit is the sound of many feet. So now you can finally understand the discomfort you have been carrying in your old work life. That heaviness when the alarm goes off. That sense of wearing shoes 2 sizes too small. That grief you feel on Sunday evenings that you have never told anyone about. It is not laziness. It is not ingratitude. It is not weakness. It is a signal as precise as any instrument, telling you that the assignment has changed. Grace has lifted from the old place. And when grace lifts, no salary can make a place feel like home again. The ox does not mourn when the yoke is removed. Your discomfort is the yoke loosening. But hear my caution, because zeal without wisdom wounds people. This is not about quitting overnight. This is not about storming out of your workplace tomorrow morning with a speech and a slammed door. God is a God of order, and even the Exodus had a timetable. This is about listening closer than you have ever listened. This is about aligning, bringing your days, your habits, your hidden hours into agreement with what heaven is building. This is about beginning, actually beginning, in the seams of the life you already have. Noah built the ark long before the rain. You can build in the evenings. You can build at dawn. You can build in the margins until the margins become the main page. And yes, it might start small. Hear me, it almost certainly will start small, because God hides his greatest works in humble packaging to filter out the proud. It might start with a few people in a living room, a few conversations that go deeper than conversations usually go, a few pieces of content posted with trembling hands to an audience you could count on your fingers. Do not despise it. Zechariah asked, "Who dares despise the day of small things?" And the question still stands. The whole oak is folded inside the acorn. The feeding of the 5,000 was folded inside a boy's lunch. What is small in your hands becomes supernatural in God's hands, because the miracle was never in the size of the offering. The miracle is in the transfer, the moment the small thing leaves your grip and enters his. And this brings us to the deepest secret of the new economy, the one currency that moves everything: your yes. Your yes is the currency that moves things in the spirit, not your talent. Heaven gave you that. Not your resources. Heaven owns those. Your yes is the one thing in the universe God will not manufacture for you. The one contribution that is entirely yours to give. Mary was a teenager in a forgotten town, and her yes carried salvation into the world. Isaiah heard the question, "I, whom shall I send?" And his "here am I" redirected history. And the moment you say yes, truly say it, watch what begins to happen. Heaven begins to fund what you are building. Ideas arrive that you did not think of. Strangers appear carrying exactly what you lacked. Doors open that you never knocked on. Time itself seems to bend to make room. The treasury of heaven opens not to the talented, but to the yielded. And here is the rest that your tired soul has been waiting for. In this new economy, you will not need to compete. You will not need to hustle like before, elbowing for position, watching your rivals, running on fumes and fear. Competition is a scarcity behavior, and there is no scarcity where you are going. Your assignment has your name on it, and no one else's hands fit it. So learn the new rules and let the old ones fall away. In this economy, presence is power, because 1 hour of God's presence accomplishes what a decade of striving cannot. Obedience is strategy, because the one who wrote the future is giving the directions. Flow is sustainability, because rivers do not burn out, only machines do. And trust is the investment, deposited daily, compounding quietly, guaranteed by the faithfulness of the one who has never once broken a promise. Never forget what you are actually here for, because it is bigger than your bills and bigger than your dreams. Chosen ones are not here to fight for scraps at the world's table. You are not a beggar at the economy's back door. You are a distributor of spiritual wealth. You carry clarity for the confused. You carry peace for the tormented. You carry healing for the wounded. You carry awakening for the asleep. That is the inventory in your storehouse, and it multiplies as you give it away. The world is starving for what you have in surplus. Distribution is your destiny. Let me show you what this looks like in an ordinary week, because the new economy does not arrive with trumpets. It arrives on a Tuesday. A woman finishes her shift, comes home, and instead of collapsing in front of a screen, she spends 40 minutes writing the devotional that has been sitting in her chest for 3 years. She posts it. 11 people read it. One of them is a man who had decided that night would be his last, and her words become the rope that pulls him back from the edge. She will not know this for months, but heaven knew it before she wrote the first line, and heaven counted her 40 minutes as more productive than her entire shift. That is the accounting of the new economy. The books are kept in eternity, and the ledgers measure lives, not hours. And notice how God funds these beginnings, because he rarely does it the way you expect. He funded Peter's tax bill with a coin in the mouth of a fish. He funded a widow's freedom through oil poured into borrowed jars, and the oil only stopped when the jars ran out, which means the supply was limited only by her capacity to receive. So enlarge your capacity, chosen one. Borrow more jars. Prepare for provision before you can see it, because faith prepares tables in the wilderness. Ask yourself honestly, if God funded the whole vision tomorrow, would you even be ready? Get ready. Readiness is worship. Comment 777 below, so I know you feel the shift. The builders of this new economy all share one quiet advantage: a mind still enough to receive instructions. That capacity is restorable. You heard how earlier. And the path is waiting in the description for the one whose spirit confirmed it. Someone listening right now gave their 2 weeks' notice in their heart months ago and has been waiting for permission. Someone listening right now has a healing gift that shows up every time they pray for people, and they have been calling it coincidence. Someone listening right now has been building something quietly at their kitchen table, half ashamed of it, and heaven calls it headquarters. You are the ones I am talking to. You are the ones this hour has been waiting for. The rise of the chosen is not a phrase. It is a movement, already in motion, already gathering, already shaking what can be shaken. A new spiritual economy is being built on the earth, and you are not a spectator to it, not a customer of it. You are one of its architects. The blueprints were drawn before your birth. The permits were signed in eternity. Heaven has already approved it. It is time to build. Chosen one, listen closely, because what I am about to tell you goes against everything you were raised to believe. From the time you were old enough to understand words, the world was training you to chase. Chase the grade so you could chase the school. Chase the school so you could chase the job. Chase the job so you could chase the paycheck. Chase the paycheck so you could chase a little bit of safety in a world that never once promised to keep you safe. They taught you to run after money like your life depended on it, to measure your worth by the number that lands in your account, to introduce yourself by your job title as if that were your name. And nobody, not one person, sat you down and told you the truth that heaven has been trying to whisper to you your whole life. Divine provision does not follow effort. Divine provision follows purpose. Read that again in your spirit. Provision follows purpose, not hustle, not exhaustion, not the extra shift, not the second job, not the years of grinding for a company that would replace you in a week. Purpose, because when you walk in the assignment God wrote for you before you took your first breath, provision does not have to be begged for. It flows. It comes to find you. Heaven backs what you were born to do, and heaven never runs out of resources. The world has one message for you, and it repeats it so often you mistook it for wisdom. Get a job so you can survive. Secure the position. Cling to the salary. Do not let go of the branch. But God has a different word, and it is not a suggestion. It is a spiritual law written into the fabric of how this universe operates. Step into your calling, and I will provide. Seek first the kingdom, and everything else, the food, the clothing, the roof, the needs you lie awake calculating, will be added to you. Not earned by you, added to you. That is not poetry. That is the economy of heaven, and it has never once collapsed. Think about Elijah. There was a famine in the land, a real one, the kind where people watch their storehouses empty and their children go hungry. And God told Elijah to go to a ravine and wait. Not to network, not to apply, not to make himself useful to a wealthy household in exchange for bread. Go to the brook Cherith and wait. And ravens, birds, unclean scavenger birds that hoard food for themselves by nature, brought him bread and meat in the morning, and bread and meat in the evening. Do you understand what that means for you? When you are standing where God told you to stand, He will override the very nature of things to feed you. He will use sources that make no sense. He will send provision through channels no career counselor could ever chart. And when the brook dried up, because sometimes the brook dries up even when you obeyed, God did not apologize. He gave the next instruction. Go to Zarephath. There is a widow there. And Elijah found a woman gathering sticks to cook one last meal for herself and her son before they died. She had a handful of flour and a little oil. That was the whole inventory. And because she put the assignment first, because she fed the prophet before she fed her fear, that flour did not run out and that oil did not run dry, day after day, month after month, until the famine broke. The jar did not overflow all at once. It gave enough for today and tomorrow. Enough for tomorrow. That is how God often provides, in portions, in daily bread, because He is not just filling your stomach, He is building your trust. This is why you have felt what you have felt. This is why the job that everyone congratulated you for made you feel like you were slowly disappearing. This is why you sat in the parking lot before your shift, hands on the wheel, unable to make yourself walk in. This is why the position that looked perfect on paper, good salary, good benefits, good title, felt like a slow suffocation of everything alive in you. You were not being ungrateful. You were not broken. Your spirit was telling you the truth your mind was afraid to say out loud. You were never meant to live off wages. You were meant to live off assignment. There is a difference, and your soul knows it even when your budget does not. Wages are what the world pays you to abandon your purpose 40 hours at a time. Assignment is what heaven funds so that your purpose can breathe. Wages can be cut, frozen, taken. Assignment is backed by the one who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, who paved streets with the gold this world kills for, who fed a few million people in a wilderness with bread that showed up on the ground every single morning for 40 years. Manna did not come because Israel worked for it. Manna came because they were on the journey God ordained. The provision was attached to the path. Step on the path, and the provision finds you. Step off the path, and you can labor until your hands bleed and still watch it slip through your fingers. Here is something you need to hear about doors. For most people, doors open because they apply, they submit, they interview, they wait, they hope. But you are not most people, and you have probably already noticed that the normal machinery does not work for you the way it works for them. For you, chosen one, doors do not open because you apply. They open when you obey. You can send out 100 resumes, polished, perfect, tailored, and hear nothing but silence, and wonder what is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. The silence is not rejection. The silence is redirection. Heaven is refusing to fund your escape from your assignment. But watch what happens when you finally say yes to the thing God whispered to you in private, the idea you have been sitting on. The work you do when nobody pays you, nobody watches you, nobody claps. Say yes to that. Take one trembling step toward it, and watch how quickly things begin to align. Resources you did not ask for come looking for you. A person you have not spoken to in years reaches out with exactly what you need. Favor starts showing up in rooms you have not even entered yet. It will feel like coincidence at first, and then it will happen again and again, until you finally admit what is happening. Heaven was waiting on your yes, because here is the law underneath the law. God funds his assignments. He does not fund your fears. He does not fund your fallback plans. He does not fund the life you designed as a hiding place from the life he designed. And this may sting, but you need it. Some things in your life have not worked, not because you lacked talent, not because you did not try hard enough, but because you were financing what heaven never authorized. You were pouring your strength, your years, your health into a building God never asked you to build, and then wondering why the materials kept running out. He was never going to supply a project he did not commission. Unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain who build it. The vain labor was never a punishment. It was a message. I know the questions are real. I am not going to pretend they are not. How will I live? What about the bills sitting on the counter right now? The ones with the dates circled? What about the people who depend on me? The children, the parents, the responsibilities that do not pause while I find myself. You open the bank app and your chest tightens before the balance even loads. That fear is real, and God does not mock it. But hear the promise underneath the pressure. When you prioritize purpose, God prioritizes your needs. That is the exchange. You put his assignment first, and he puts your provision first. He is not a careless father. He does not call his children into the wilderness to watch them starve. What father among you, if his son asks for bread, hands him a stone? If earthly fathers, flawed as they are, know how to feed their children, how much more does your Father in heaven know how to sustain the ones he sent on purpose into the earth? Now, be honest with yourself about how he provides, because if you misunderstand his method, you will misjudge his heart. Sometimes God provides in portions on purpose. Enough for this month, enough for this week, sometimes enough for this day only, like manna that's spoiled if you tried to stockpile it, not because he is stingy, but because he is building something in you that a lump sum could never build. Trust. Dependence that is not weakness but relationship. And sometimes he lets the vision stretch you, lets the gap between what you see and what you hold grow wide enough to hurt, because faith is a muscle, and muscles only grow under load. The stretching is not abandonment. The stretching is training. Abraham left Ur without a map, without a destination he could name, without a single confirmed detail, except a voice that said, "Go, and I will show you." He walked out of the most advanced city of his age into open wilderness on the strength of a promise, and he became the wealthiest man in the region, blessed so heavily that the land could not contain him and Lot together. The provision was in the going, it always is. So let this settle into your bones tonight. Lack is not your destiny. Scarcity is not your inheritance. Poverty is not humility, and struggle is not holiness. You come from a father whose storehouses have never once been audited and found short. You are not a beggar pleading at the world's table for scraps of stability. You are a chosen vessel, and vessels are filled by the one who owns them. The question was never whether God has enough. The question is only whether you are positioned under the flow, and the flow runs down the channel of purpose. Understand the difference between the two economies you are choosing between. Survival mode gets you by. It keeps the lights on and the fear quiet for another month, and it takes everything you have to give in exchange. But purpose puts you in overflow. Purpose creates what I can only call divine momentum, where one obedience opens 3 doors, where the thing you built in secret starts drawing people you never advertised to, where increase stops being something you chase and starts being something that follows you. Goodness and mercy shall follow me. Follow, not run from me, not hide from me. Follow me all the days of my life, because I am walking the path they were assigned to. And stop waiting, chosen one. Stop scanning the horizon for someone to give you an opportunity, as if your future is locked in someone else's filing cabinet. The world taught you that opportunities are found, applied for, granted by gatekeepers. But you carry a creative spirit, the same spirit that hovered over the deep and made something out of nothing. Create from your spirit. Write the thing. Build the thing. Speak the thing. Serve the people God put on your heart with whatever is in your hand right now. The way the boy handed over 5 loaves and 2 fish and watched heaven do mathematics, the world still cannot explain. When you create from your spirit, you stop hunting opportunities, and opportunities start hunting you. I will not lie to you about the cost, because there is one, and cheap prophecy is no prophecy at all. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you the warm anesthesia of the predictable life. It will cost you being understood, because people who have never heard a calling cannot comprehend obeying one. You will walk away from things that look secure, and hands will reach for you, some out of love, some out of fear, saying, "Are you sure? Are you crazy? Do you know what you are giving up?" Peter knew. He was in a perfectly good boat, a floating piece of security in the middle of a storm, and he heard one word, "Come," and he put his leg over the side. Everyone remembers that he sank a little. Nobody talks about the fact that he walked. He is the only man besides Jesus who ever felt water hold his weight, and it happened because he traded the boat for the voice. But look at what you gain. You gain provision that never runs out, because it does not come from an employer, an economy, or an industry. It comes from God, and His provision is not only money, it is insight that arrives the moment you need it. It is favor that opens mouths and hearts on your behalf. It is peace that guards you at 2 in the morning when the old fear comes knocking. It is clarity that cuts through options like light through fog. It is the timely door, the one that swings open at the exact hour no amount of effort could have forced it, because He is the God who sets before you an open door that no man can shut. The world will not understand why you left the job. They will not understand why you turned down the offer, why you let the title go, why you said no to the number they would have crawled for. You held the offer letter and everyone said, "Congratulations," and all you felt was the quiet click of a cage door. You do not have to explain that to anyone. You do not need their approval when you have heaven's backing. Let them shake their heads. Let them whisper. Noah looked foolish for years, building a boat under a clear sky, and then it started to rain. And mark this, because it will be your testimony. Every time you honor the calling, provision shows up. Every single time, a person is sent to help you the very week you needed help. An unexpected breakthrough lands in the season everything looked stuck. Strength arrives, not before you need it, but exactly when you need it. Strength to keep going one more day, and one more, until the shift comes. Your yes is a key. There are resources right now, already assigned to you, already labeled with your name, sitting in the realm of the Spirit, waiting on nothing but your obedience. Heaven is not withholding, heaven is waiting. So stop trying to figure everything out before you move. The full plan is not coming, because the full plan would make faith unnecessary, and without faith it is impossible to please him. He gives the step, not the staircase. Start moving, and let God meet you on the way. The waters of the Jordan did not part while the priests stood on the bank calculating. They parted when the soles of their feet touched the edge of the flood. Wet feet first, miracle second. That is the order, and it has never been reversed. Comment 999 below and speak it into the atmosphere. Provision will follow my purpose. Provision follows the ones who can hear where to walk, and everything we have left to cover tonight is about sharpening that hearing. Say it out loud, right where you are. Provision will follow my purpose. Believe it deeper than your fear. And then walk, chosen one. Walk toward your assignment like it is already funded, because in the Spirit it already is. Walk like the answer is already on the way, because it is. Walk like it is already done. Now hear me, chosen one, because this next part is where most people turn back, and you were not built to turn back. The next step on this path is not what you think it is. It is not learning something new. It is not another certificate, another strategy, another set of skills stacked on top of the ones you already have. The next step is unlearning. Unlearning everything you were never supposed to believe in the first place. Because your path does not begin with a course. It does not begin with a degree. It does not begin with a job. It begins the moment you start releasing the lies that were installed in you by a system that was never designed for your kind. Sit with that. Never designed for your kind. The system was built to produce workers, and you were born to be a vessel. It was built to manufacture sameness, and you were fashioned for assignment. So, of course, its instructions never fit you. Of course, you kept failing at a game you were never created to win. You were trying to run heaven's software on the world's operating system, and the crashes were not your fault. Before heaven builds anything through you, it tears down what is false in you. That is the pattern, and it has never changed. When God called Gideon to deliver a nation, the very first instruction was not attack the enemy. It was tear down your father's altar, demolish the false things standing in your own backyard, the idol your own family built and bowed to, before you touch anything else. And Gideon did it at night because he was afraid, and God used him anyway. The tearing down came first. It always comes first. The prophet Jeremiah was appointed to root out, to pull down, to destroy, and to throw down, and only then to build and to plant, demolition before construction, unlearning before purpose. Understand what was done to you, not to make you bitter, but to make you free. Since childhood you were conditioned, patiently, systematically, in ways so normal nobody thought to question them. Conditioned toward control, sit still, stay in line, ask permission. Conditioned toward competition, beat the kid next to you, the curve only has room for a few. Conditioned toward survival, do not dream too big, be realistic, get something stable. They taught you that your worth comes from your grind, so you learned to feel guilty every time you rested. They taught you that your identity comes from your title, so you learned to feel like nobody in the seasons between titles. They taught you to choose stability over vision every single time the two came into conflict, and to call that choice maturity. And I need you to hear this plainly. None of that came from God, not one line of it. It has his name stamped on it sometimes, dressed up in respectable clothes, but the fingerprints are the world's. Because look at what the system actually needs from you. It needs you useful, but not powerful, skilled enough to produce, never awake enough to question. It needs you efficient, but not awakened, because awakened people stop feeding machines that eat them. It needs you busy, endlessly, exhaustingly busy, but never aligned, because an aligned person cannot be steered by fear, and fear is the only leash the system owns. Pharaoh's answer to Israel's cry for freedom was more bricks, less straw, heavier quotas. Keep them too tired to imagine an exodus. That strategy did not die in Egypt. It just changed clothes. So that restlessness you feel, the low hum of wrongness underneath your ordinary days, the feeling of wearing a life 2 sizes too small, let me tell you what it actually is. It is not ingratitude. It is not a disorder. It is not a phase you should have outgrown. It is friction. Friction between the world's script and heaven's blueprint. 2 documents that cannot be merged, grinding against each other inside one chest. The world's script says, get in line. Heaven's blueprint says, rise and lead. The script says, play it safe. The blueprint says, walk by faith and not by sight. The script says, be realistic. The blueprint says, I know the plans I have for you, plans to give you a future and a hope. And you cannot carry both. Nobody can. No one serves 2 masters. No one sews new cloth onto an old garment without the tear getting worse. And no one pours new wine into old wineskins without losing both the wine and the skin. New wine demands a new vessel. Fresh purpose demands an unlearned mind. I will not pretend the unlearning is gentle. It is painful. It feels like confusion, like the floor tilting, because everything familiar is collapsing at once, and the familiar was holding you together the way a cast holds a broken arm. When beliefs you built your decisions on turn out to be lies, you grieve them. When the ladder you climbed for years turns out to be leaning on the wrong wall, something in you does not want to know. But hear the word of the Lord over your collapse. This collapse is holy. This collapse is necessary. Not everything that falls apart is an attack. Some things fall apart because God refuses to renovate what he intends to rebuild from the foundation. He shakes what can be shaken so that only the unshakable remains. And you, the real you, the called you, are what remains. God will not pour fresh purpose into a mind still married to old patterns. He simply will not do it. And it is mercy that he will not, because the old mind would strangle the new assignment in its sleep. That is why the scripture does not say, be transformed by trying harder. It says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Renewal, rewiring. Do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, because the pattern of this world is precisely the thing that has been malfunctioning in you. He is transforming how you see, so you stop seeing obstacles where he placed doors. He is transforming how you think, so your first thought is no longer what could go wrong. He is transforming how you hear, so you can tell his whisper from your anxiety. He is transforming how you decide, so your choices flow from conviction instead of panic. Watch how the questions themselves change, because the questions are where the programming hides. You were taught that the first question about any path is, will this make money? It sounds practical. It sounds responsible. It is a leash. God is teaching you a different first question. Is this in alignment? Is this what I was sent here to do? Money answers to alignment. Alignment does not answer to money. You were taught to follow what is popular, to watch the crowd and merge into it, because there is safety in numbers. But you are called to follow what is prophetic, and the prophetic almost never travels with the crowd. Wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. The narrow road is narrow because your kind is few. You were told to seek comfort, to make comfort the finish line of every effort. But you are being called into divine discomfort, the holy strain where every muscle of your spirit is awake, because that is where growth lives, and nothing that matters has ever grown in a comfort zone. There will be days in this process when you feel like you are losing your mind. I want you to expect them so they do not frighten you. Days when you cannot explain yourself even to yourself. Days when the old logic and the new leading argue inside you until you are exhausted. You are not losing your mind, chosen one. You are being rewired, recalibrated, stripped, wire by wire, of the world's logic, so you can operate by spiritual intelligence, the kind the natural mind calls foolishness, because it cannot be discerned by natural means. When Saul met the light on the Damascus road, he went blind for 3 days. The most educated man of his generation, trained under the finest teacher, zealous, certain, credentialed, and he had to sit in darkness, not eating, not seeing, while everything he knew was dismantled. And when something like scales fell from his eyes, he did not go back to his old career with new energy. He was a different man with a different name and a different assignment. The blindness was not the punishment. The blindness was the unlearning. Moses had to unlearn Egypt before he could confront Egypt. 40 years of palace training, the best leadership education the world could offer, and God still sent him to the backside of a desert to tend sheep until the prince in him died and the deliverer in him could be born. What the world installs, the wilderness uninstalls. If you are in a wilderness season right now, if your life looks slower and smaller and quieter than it used to, do not read it as demotion. Read it as deprogramming. And as the rewiring deepens, your decisions will start to look strange from the outside. You will walk away from offers that look good on paper, but do not feel right in your spirit. And you will not always be able to articulate why. Only that something in you said no, and you have finally learned to trust that something. You will say no to jobs that promise stability but rob your spirit, because you have done that math before, and you know now what it actually costs. You will begin to trust your peace more than your paycheck, to treat the presence or absence of peace as data, real data, the way a pilot trusts instruments in fog. Let the peace of God rule in your hearts, the scripture says, and the word rule there means umpire, the one who makes the call. When peace lifts, that is the whistle. When peace rests, that is the confirmation. David could not fight in Saul's armor. It was proven armor, king's armor, the best the kingdom had, and it did not fit him, and he had the courage to take it off in front of everyone and walk out with a sling and 5 smooth stones. Some of you are still wearing borrowed armor. Unlearning is taking it off. Here is what I have learned about how the blueprint comes, and it is not how the world's plans come. The blueprint does not arrive all at once, laminated and complete. It reveals itself step by step. An instruction here. Do this one thing. A nudge there. Call that person. Go to that place. Write that page. A confirmation later, when someone who knows nothing about your situation says the very words God said to you in private. Your word is a lamp to my feet, the psalmist wrote. A lamp, not a floodlight. Enough light for the next step and no more, because the next step is all obedience ever requires. And here is the part that should humble you. The blueprint was always there. It did not just show up. It was written over your life before you were formed, but your old programming blocked the vision the way noise drowns a whisper. Elijah learned it on the mountain, the wind, the earthquake, the fire, and the Lord in none of them. And then, a still small voice. The voice was not new. The quiet was. So, As you unlearn the noise, watch what you start to notice. Synchronicities that make you laugh out loud. Divine timing so precise it feels choreographed, because it is. Conversations that confirm what you already sensed. A stranger's sentence answering a question you only asked in prayer. None of it is new. Heaven has been speaking in that frequency your whole life. You are just finally tuned to receive it. And there is a threshold ahead of you. So let me describe it so you will recognize it when you cross it. Once you unlearn fear, once you unlearn performance, once you unlearn striving, the constant proving, earning, auditioning for a worth you already possess, you begin to live from a different place entirely. You live from trust instead of fear. You live from presence instead of performance. You live from flow instead of striving. And that, chosen one, is when you become unstoppable. Not because obstacles disappear, but because obstacles stop defining your behavior. A person who cannot be threatened by loss and cannot be bribed by comfort cannot be controlled. And a person who cannot be controlled by the world is finally available to be used by God. Expect the names they will call you, so the names lose their sting before they arrive. Irresponsible, unrealistic, rebellious. What happened to you? You used to be so sensible. Let them talk. You were not chosen to continue cycles. You were chosen to break them. The generational settling, the inherited fear, the family tradition of shrinking to fit, it was scheduled to run through you into your children, and heaven interrupted the sequence by waking you up. That interruption was never going to look polite. So if things in your life feel like they are falling apart right now, if structures are cracking and relationships are shifting and old certainties are dissolving in your hands, hear this and hold it. You are not being destroyed. You are being delivered. Delivered from programming that never belonged to you. Delivered from systems that kept you small and called the smallness safety. Delivered from beliefs that kept you bound and called the bondage wisdom. Israel's deliverance looked like chaos from inside it. Doors marked in blood at midnight, an army behind them, a sea in front of them, and every step of it was exodus. You are not going backwards. You are being reset. Restored to factory settings, the original design, the version of you God authored before the world started editing. Let the world call it foolish. Let heaven call it preparation. The world called a stable in Bethlehem insignificant, a carpenter's son ordinary, a cross a failure. The world has a long history of mislabeling the things God is about to use. Its opinion of your process is not information, it is noise, and you are done being ruled by noise. Because here is where all of this is going, chosen one. Once you receive the blueprint designed for you, once the false is torn out and the original is restored, something shifts in the atmosphere around your life. You stop chasing and you start attracting. The striving ends, not because you stopped working, but because you stopped forcing. What belongs to you begins to locate you. The people, the resources, the openings, the alignments, drawn not to your hustle but to your position. Because you are finally standing where you were always meant to stand. You are exactly where God called you to be, and from that place, everything changes. Part of that unlearning is practical, by the way. Old programming lives in the mind, and the mind can be retuned. That retuning is exactly what the genius switch I described earlier restores, not a shortcut, but a return to the capacity your formation was always meant to operate within. The chosen one who has stayed this long is precisely who it was built for, and the link remains in the description. Chosen one, I want you to notice something about the panic that rises in your chest when someone asks what you do for a living. Notice how fast it comes. Notice how automatic it is. That panic was installed in you. The world programmed you to believe that the moment you are not employed, you are in danger, that idle hands are shameful hands, that the only acceptable response to an empty schedule is to fill it with frantic motion. So, you get busy. You send out applications like a man bailing water from a sinking boat. You settle for anything, any title, any desk, any wage, just so you never have to stand in a room and admit that right now you are not working for anyone. But hear this, and hear it deep in your spirit. Heaven's voice sounds nothing like that panic. God is not asking you to chase jobs. God is asking you to step into your assignment. There is a difference between the two, and your whole life changes the day you learn to feel it. A job is something you hunt. An assignment is something you answer. A job asks what you can do for 8 hours. An assignment asks what you were born to carry. The world says hustle like everyone else. Elbow your way in, beg for the interview, shrink yourself to fit the description. Heaven says, stop hustling like everyone else and start building like the one you were called to be. You were not chosen to stand in line. You were chosen to build. So, here is the shift, and I want you to receive it like an instruction and not a suggestion. Instead of job hunting, start gifting. Tomorrow morning, before the anxiety can find you, wake up and ask a different set of questions. Not who is hiring, not who will take me. Ask this instead. What can I create today that aligns with my purpose? How can I show up with intention? Who can I serve today? Who can I speak to, encourage, or guide? Do you feel how different those questions are? The first set makes you a beggar at the world's door. The second set makes you a servant at heaven's altar. One drains you before breakfast. The other fills you before sunrise. You are not unemployed, chosen one. You are being redirected. Say that again slowly, because your soul needs to hear it in your own voice. You are not unemployed. You are being redirected, not toward a company, toward your calling. The empty space in your calendar is not a void. It is a runway. The silence from those hiring managers is not rejection, it is protection, because God will not let you get comfortable in a seat He never assigned to you. And the moment to begin is now, not when you feel ready. You will never feel ready, not when the plan is perfect. The plan will never be perfect. Noah did not wait for the first drop of rain before he picked up the hammer. He built an ark under a clear blue sky while his neighbors laughed, because obedience does not wait for evidence. It moves on instruction. If Noah had waited until the storm was visible, the ark would have been a pile of lumber under floodwater. You do not build when it makes sense. You build when God says build. Maybe for you, it is a channel. Maybe it is writing. Maybe it is creating with your hands, mentoring the young ones coming up behind you, healing people the way you were healed, speaking, designing, building, teaching. You already know which one made your heart jump just now. You have heard the whispers for a long time. In the shower, on the drive home, in that quiet minute before sleep when the world finally stops shouting. That idea keeps returning because it was never just an idea. It was an instruction wearing the disguise of a daydream. And the delay, listen to me, the delay was never because it is not real. The delay is because you were taught to fear your own gift. Somebody, somewhere told you to be realistic. Somebody laughed at the wrong moment. Somebody said, "Who do you think you are?" And you agreed with them instead of agreeing with God. You buried the treasure like the servant in the parable who was so afraid of losing what he had that he wrapped it in a cloth and hid it in the ground. And when the master returned, the buried gift was the only one that grieved him, not the small gift, the hidden one. Heaven is not offended by your small beginning. Heaven is grieved by your buried one. Because that gift, the very thing you have been hiding, is the opportunity. You keep looking for an open door while carrying the key in your pocket. Offer that gift consistently, without shame, without apology, and watch what heaven does. Heaven positions you where applications never could. People start finding you who never saw your resume. Provision starts following you down roads you did not know existed. Platforms open that you never petitioned. Why? Not because you networked, not because you optimized, because you obeyed. Obedience is your strategy, chosen one. Write it on the wall of your heart. Not cleverness, not connections. Obedience. If God says record the message, record the message. Do not wait for better lighting. Do not wait for a nicer camera. Record it with a shaking hand if you have to. If He nudges you to offer sessions, to sit with people and pour out what you know, then start with what you know, not with what you wish you knew. David did not go looking for a giant's armor before he faced Goliath. In fact, they tried to dress him in Saul's armor, and it did not fit, because borrowed equipment never fits an original assignment. The stone was already in his bag. The sling was already in his hand. Everything David needed for the biggest moment of his life was already on his body when he walked onto the field. And everything you need for your assignment is already inside you as you hear these words. Take the first small step without a business plan. I know that sounds reckless to a mind trained by this world, but spiritual doors do not respond to resumes. They respond to obedience. You cannot submit an application to destiny. You can only submit your yes. Peter did not receive a 5-year projection before he stepped out of the boat. He received one word, come, and the water held him for exactly as long as he kept his eyes on the one who called him. The water was never the point. The call was the point. Let me paint you a picture, because I know some of you are still negotiating with this. There is a woman right now sitting at her kitchen table at 11 at night. The house is finally quiet. Her laptop is open to another job board, and she has been scrolling for an hour, and her eyes are burning, and her spirit is heavier with every listing she reads, because none of them fit, and deep down she knows why. They were never supposed to fit. In her drafts folder is a document she started 2 years ago, the thing she actually cares about, the thing she thinks about when no one is asking her to be realistic. Every night she opens the job board, and every night the document waits. Heaven is not watching her scroll with disappointment. Heaven is watching that document with anticipation. One night she is going to close the job board and open the draft, and the whole atmosphere over her life is going to shift. Not because she found a position, but because she finally took hers. And there is a man who keeps rewriting the same resume, changing the fonts, rearranging the bullet points, trying to compress 20 years of pain and growth and hard-won wisdom into a single page that a stranger will scan for 6 seconds. Nobody is asking him for the thing he actually carries, which is the ability to sit with a broken person and speak life until their shoulders lift. No resume has a section for that. No application has a field for anointing. And that is exactly the problem with applications. They measure what the world values and stay blind to what heaven deposited. Stop trying to fit your calling into their format. Your calling was never meant to be formatted. It was meant to be released. Ask yourself honestly, when did you start believing that your worth arrives by employer? Who taught you that provision only travels through payroll? The birds of the air do not submit applications, and your Father feeds them, and you are worth more than many sparrows. This is not an invitation to laziness. Hear me. This is an invitation to a different kind of labor. Harder, actually. The labor of building without applause. The labor of showing up for an assignment nobody assigned you but God. The labor of watering a seed for a season while the world asks what you even do all day. That labor has a harvest the hired can only dream about. Understand what happens in the unseen realm when you move. Every act of obedience creates a ripple. You cannot see the ripple, but heaven measures it. You record one message, and someone 3 time zones away hears the exact sentence they prayed about that morning. You write 1 page, and it becomes the seed of a book that outlives you. You encourage 1 person, and that person goes on to encourage 1,000. The ripple opens the next door, and the next door opens the next assignment, and the next assignment opens rooms you could not have entered any other way. But the ripple only exists if the stone leaves your hand. Nothing you keep inside you can move the water. So begin without knowing the end. Abraham left everything familiar with nothing but a promise and a direction, not knowing where he was going, and he became the father of nations precisely because he was willing to travel by faith instead of by map. Begin while your voice still shakes. Moses argued that he was slow of speech, that surely there was someone more qualified, and God did not heal his stammer before sending him. God sent him stammering, because the power was never in the eloquence. Begin while you are still learning. Begin even when you are afraid, especially when you are afraid, because fear standing next to obedience is called courage, and courage is the currency of the chosen. You are not behind, chosen one. You are in position. Read that again with your spirit and not your anxiety. All those years that felt wasted, the jobs that fell through, the doors that slammed, the seasons of silence, they were not detours. They were formation. Joseph spent years in a pit and a prison before a palace, and not one of those years was lost, because the dream did not need Joseph to be fast. It needed him to be ready. You are not late. You are finally listening. And the divine timeline is never rushed, but it is always exact. Heaven has never once been early, and heaven has never once missed the moment. So here is your instruction for this season. Instead of job hunting, build the altar. I am not talking about a table with candles. I am talking about the space in your life where your gift meets God's breath. It might be a desk in the corner of your bedroom. It might be a notebook. It might be a microphone, a kitchen, a garage, an early morning hour that you refuse to give to anyone else. The altar is wherever you consistently bring what is in your hands and let God set it on fire. And whatever you do on that altar, whether you write, speak, teach, create, or heal, it carries power the world cannot manufacture because it was done in obedience. And that kind of obedience attracts what the world cannot explain. Collaborations you never pitched. Ideas that arrive fully formed at 3 in the morning. Clarity that cuts through years of confusion in a single moment. Miracles that make your old logic look small. Do not wait to be hired to be useful. You are already appointed. The prophet Jeremiah was told that before he was formed in the womb, he was known, and before he was born, he was set apart. Your appointment predates your birth certificate. No employer issued it, and no employer can revoke it. Do not wait for a boss to say yes when God already said go. What a strange thing it would be to stand before heaven one day and explain that you had a divine commission in your hands, but you were waiting on a human signature. Teach what you have lived, not what you memorized, what you lived. Serve from your scars, because your scars are proof that wounds can close, and somebody out there is still bleeding from the exact wound you survived. Share what healed you. The woman at the well did not attend a seminary before she evangelized her whole town. She simply ran and said, "Come see a man who told me everything I ever did." Her testimony was her credential. Yours is too. You do not need perfection. You need movement. A parked car cannot be steered, but the moment it starts rolling, even slowly, even crookedly, it can be directed. God steers moving vessels. So let the contrast become your daily rhythm. While the world hunts jobs, you build vision. While they submit resumes, you submit your will. While they refresh their inboxes waiting for permission, you rise before dawn and create. While they chase survival, you create from overflow, because you have finally understood that your source was never a salary. Your source is the one who owns every field, every harvest, and every storehouse, and he has never once run out. Mary understood something Martha missed. While Martha rushed around the kitchen, anxious and troubled about many things, Mary sat at the feet of Jesus, and Jesus said she had chosen the better portion, and it would not be taken from her. The world will always reward the rushing. Heaven rewards the positioning. And you, chosen one, are done rushing. The real work was never out there in the job listings, in the interviews, in the offices, with your name spelled wrong on the badge. The real work was always inside you, folded up like a seed, waiting for the day you would stop running past it and finally plant it. That day is today. Go activate it. And as you do, remember that building the altar requires a quiet builder. The resource I described earlier is still in the description and the pinned comment for the one who needs it. That is the last time it will be mentioned before we close. Now, chosen one, we come to the question underneath every other question in this season. Because I can tell you to build the altar, I can tell you to step into your assignment, but all of it depends on one skill the world never taught you. In this season of shift, the most important voice you can hear is not the world's voice, it is God's. Everything else is commentary. His voice is instruction. But let us be honest with each other, because this is where so many of the chosen quietly struggle and never admit it. With everything pulling at your attention, hearing him can feel confusing. Sometimes it feels like silence. You pray, and the ceiling seems closed. You ask for direction, and you get what feels like static. And then a thought crosses your mind, and you freeze, wondering, is that me, or is that him? Is that my imagination, or is that instruction? Is that fear talking or wisdom warning? You are not broken for asking that. Every person who ever learned to hear heaven asked that same question first. So let me settle something in your spirit before we go one step further. God is still speaking. He did not fall silent when the last page of scripture was written. He did not lose your address when your life got complicated. The heavens declare his glory day after day, night after night, without a single word of human language. And the same God who speaks through galaxies is speaking over your life right now. The question was never whether God is speaking. The question is whether you are still enough to listen. You were chosen to move with precision. Feel the weight of that. Not to wander, not to gamble, not to stumble from option to option, hoping something works. Precision. And you cannot afford to guess your way through this season. Too much is assigned to you. Too many people are on the other side of your obedience. A soldier in a critical hour does not act on assumptions. He waits for orders, because one wrong move at the wrong time can cost what took years to build. You need divine instruction. You need specific direction. And specific direction only comes one way: by quieting the noise. Think about what you allow into your ears and your eyes in a single day. Opinions before breakfast, comparisons before noon, bad news before dinner, other people's highlight reels before bed, distractions, comparisons, anxiety about what comes next. All of it creates static in your inner world, and static drowns out divine sound. It does not block it. Notice that. The signal is still being broadcast. It drowns it. The whisper is still there under all that noise, faithful and constant, but you have layered so much sound on top of it that you have convinced yourself heaven went quiet. Hear me clearly. You do not need more advice. You need more silence. You do not need louder voices. You need stillness. The world will hand you 1,000 opinions for free, and every one of them costs you a little bit of your clarity. There was a prophet who stood on a mountain waiting to hear from God, and a great wind tore the rocks apart, but God was not in the wind. Then an earthquake shook the ground, but God was not in the earthquake. Then a fire passed, but God was not in the fire. And after the fire came a still, small voice, a low whisper, and when the prophet heard it, he wrapped his face in his cloak, because he knew the God of mountains and fire chooses to speak in a whisper, which means the ones who hear him are not the loudest. They are the stillest. God speaks through your thoughts, dropping impressions that arrive quieter than your own reasoning but heavier. He speaks through your instincts, that inner knowing that tightens or releases before your mind can explain why. He speaks through your dreams, when your defenses are finally down and your soul can receive without arguing. He speaks through your atmosphere, through the way a room shifts, through a sentence in a conversation that lands like it was aimed at you. But the more chaos you allow in, the harder it becomes to discern him from the noise. It is like a radio dial. The station is always broadcasting, but if you are even slightly off the frequency, all you get is distortion, half words, crackle, confusion. Turn the dial 1 degree toward alignment, and suddenly the signal is clear as morning. Nothing about the broadcast changed. Everything about the tuning did. So here is where you start. Sacred solitude, not isolation. Understand the difference. Isolation is driven by pain, it is hiding, it is the wound closing the door. Solitude is driven by hunger, it is invitation. It is you closing the door on the noise so you can open it to God. Set a time, even 10 minutes. No phone, no music, no background videos. No scrolling one last time. Just you, your breath, and the invitation. At first, the silence will feel unbearable, because you have been medicating with noise for years, and your soul will itch for stimulation. Sit through the itch, because on the other side of that discomfort is the room where whispers become direction and questions turn into revelation. This is where confusion goes to die. Do not despise how small 10 minutes sounds. Kingdoms have turned on smaller hinges. 10 minutes of true stillness will do more for your direction than 10 hours of anxious research, because research gathers information, but stillness receives instruction, and those are not the same substance. Information tells you what is possible. Instruction tells you what is yours. You can drown in the possible and still starve for the personal word, the one sentence from heaven with your name inside it. And let me warn you about what will happen when you start protecting that quiet time, because forewarned is forearmed. Everything will conspire against it. The phone will light up with things that feel urgent and are not. Old worries will line up outside the door of your mind like impatient customers. You will suddenly remember 7 tasks the moment you sit down. This is not an accident. Whatever fights hardest to interrupt your stillness is telling you exactly how much is at stake in it. The enemy of your soul is not primarily afraid of your busyness. Busyness he can work with. Busyness he can steer. What he cannot survive is a chosen one who has learned to sit still long enough to receive orders, because a chosen one with clear instructions is unstoppable, and he knows it better than you do. There was a man who learned this in the harshest classroom imaginable. Job sat in ashes, scraping his sores, while his friends filled the air with explanations, theories, accusations, theology, delivered with confidence and almost entirely wrong. Chapter after chapter of human noise. And God stayed silent through all of it, until the noise had exhausted itself. And then he spoke out of the whirlwind, and one encounter with that voice answered questions the friends could not touch in weeks of talking. Mark this: the loudest people in your life are rarely carrying your answer. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for your own destiny is to let the human voices finish, thank them politely, and take the whole matter back into the quiet where the real conversation happens. So make the quiet a daily appointment, not an occasional emergency. Do not treat stillness like a fire extinguisher you grab only when life is burning. Treat it like bread. The manna in the wilderness fell fresh every morning, and yesterday's portion could not be stored for today. It spoiled overnight, because God was teaching his people that relationship with him is gathered daily or not at all. Yesterday's word was for yesterday's battle. This morning has its own instruction, waiting, and it will only be handed to the one who shows up to collect it. Because here is the truth about how God communicates. He does not always yell. In fact, most of the time he whispers. And a whisper is not a weakness, it is an intimacy. You only whisper to someone who is close. You only whisper to someone who is paying attention. But you cannot hear a whisper while you are yelling over your own life with constant movement, constant plans, constant consumption, constant worry spoken out loud on repeat. Some of you have been asking God to speak up when he has been asking you to quiet down. He is not going to shout over the noise you chose. He is waiting for you to choose him over the noise. Then lean into Scripture, not as a checklist, not as homework, not as a ritual to make yourself feel less guilty, but as a living conversation. Sometimes the answer you have been fasting and crying for is already written, sitting on a page you have skimmed a dozen times without seeing it. But when your heart is finally still, something changes. Verses begin to leap off the page. A line you have read your whole life suddenly reads you. A sentence written thousands of years ago lands on your exact situation with an accuracy that makes your skin prickle. That is not coincidence. That is the living word doing what it has always done, cutting through to the place where soul and spirit meet. And when he speaks, write it down. Do not trust your memory with revelation. The prophet Habakkuk was told to write the vision and make it plain, so that whoever reads it can run with it. Keep a record. Track his voice the way a sailor tracks the stars, because over time, something remarkable happens. You start to see his patterns. You learn the shape of his fingerprint on your thoughts. You begin to recognize the difference between the counterfeit voice that pushes, pressures, and condemns, and the true voice that leads, invites, and steadies. Training your spirit to recognize his patterns is like learning the footsteps of someone you love. Eventually, you know it is them before they even reach the door. Pay attention to your peace, because peace is one of heaven's most reliable messengers. If an opportunity looks perfect on paper, but something in you keeps twisting every time you move toward it, do not rush past that. That disturbance may be divine resistance, a hand on your chest saying, "Not this, not now." And if something brings you unexplainable peace, even in uncertainty, even when the numbers do not add up and the people around you raise their eyebrows, that is often God saying, "Move forward. Let peace be your umpire." But understand this, peace does not always mean comfort. Sometimes obedience is deeply uncomfortable and still saturated with peace. Sometimes peace is not the absence of storm. It is clarity in the middle of chaos, the strange calm of a person who knows they are exactly where they are supposed to be while everything around them shakes. Watch for dreams. Watch for repeated signs. When the same word finds you 3 times in 1 week, from a stranger, from a page, from a moment you did not plan, that is not coincidence. That is confirmation. When the same theme keeps surfacing everywhere you turn, heaven is underlining something. God has always spoken in patterns to those patient enough to notice them. In the days of old, he confirmed his word by 2 or 3 witnesses, and he still does. He is not trying to hide his will from you. He is layering it, so that when you finally move, you move with certainty instead of suspicion. And yes, God will use people. A sentence from a friend that carries more weight than they realize. a word from a stranger that answers a prayer they never heard you pray. But discern, chosen one, discern. Not every voice is sent to guide you. Some are sent to distract you. Some are sent to test you. Even a beloved mentor can speak from fear when heaven is calling you to faith. Weigh every human voice against the whisper, never the whisper against the crowd. Because chosen ones do not follow crowds, they follow the whisper. Crowds took Israel back toward Egypt in their hearts. The whisper took the prophets into their assignments. The crowd is loud and confident, and very often wrong. The whisper is quiet and gentle, and never once mistaken. In this season, your clarity is your power, not your hustle, not your network, your clarity. And here is the sobering part. God will not compete with your distractions. He is not standing in line behind your notifications waiting for a free moment. He waits for your surrender. He waits for the moment you put down everything else and say, "Speak, I am listening." And when you finally tune out the world and tune into Him, clarity comes. Not always instantly. Heaven is not a vending machine, but always perfectly timed, arriving at the exact moment you need it and not 1 hour after. The truth is, you have been hearing God all along. That idea that would not die, that unease before the door that later slammed, that peace that made no sense, that was Him, all of it. Now, it is time to stop merely hearing and start listening with intention until His voice becomes the loudest voice in your life, louder than the news, louder than the doubters, louder than your own fear. But before you go, let me leave you with something that should stop you in your tracks. When you look across the whole sweep of Scripture, the ones who heard God most clearly were almost never the important adults in the room. Not the kings on their thrones, not the priests with their titles, not the experts with their credentials. Heaven keeps entrusting its clearest whispers to those who become small, still, and childlike. And there is one story, one boy lying in the dark of the temple while the lamp of God was still burning. That shows exactly why heaven does this and what it means for you. Let me tell you about that boy, because his story holds the key to everything we have talked about tonight. His name was Samuel. He was just a child, serving in the temple under an old priest named Eli, in a season when the Scripture says the word of the Lord was rare and visions were not widespread. Think about that. A whole nation of grown men and women, priests trained in every ritual, elders with decades of experience, scholars who knew the law by heart, and heaven was quiet toward all of them. Then one night, while the lamps were burning low and the temple was still, a voice called out one name, Samuel. Samuel. And here is the detail that should stop you in your tracks. The boy heard it clearly, audibly, so plainly that he thought it was Eli calling him, and he ran to the old man's room, ready to serve. 3 times the voice called. 3 times the child heard it without straining, without fasting, without a single technique. And Eli, the professional, the expert, the adult who had spent his entire life in God's house, heard nothing at all. The voice was in the room, and the trained religious mind missed it, while the child caught it instantly. Why? Why does heaven keep doing this? Why did God entrust His clearest whisper of that generation to the youngest, smallest, least qualified person in the building? It is the same reason Jesus stood a child in the middle of His disciples, grown men arguing about greatness, and said, "Unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." He was not being poetic. He was describing a real condition. There is something about the mind of a child, the openness of it, the trust of it, the stillness of it, that adults lose, and that heaven never stops looking for. A child's mind has no armor of skepticism, no committee of fears voting down every whisper, No decades of disappointment translating every divine nudge into background noise. A child simply hears and believes and runs to answer. You had that once, you know you did. Remember how easily you believed when you were small? Remember when your imagination could build whole worlds in an afternoon, when you noticed everything, when the world felt thick with wonder and nothing felt impossible yet? That was not naivety. That was the original setting of your mind, the one God designed to receive him. And here is what should sober you. Somewhere between then and now, the world trained it out of you. School trained it out. Deadlines trained it out. Survival trained it out. The very system we have spent this whole message talking about, the one that taught you to chase jobs instead of callings, is the same system that slowly sealed shut the childlike channel you once heard through. But here is what I want you to see, now that you know the whole story. What the world sealed, heaven never abandoned. The same childlike state Samuel slept in, still, open, unarmored, is the very state we spoke about in the middle of this message, the one science watched children carry and adults lose. Scripture named the condition 2,000 years before any laboratory measured it. Unless you become like little children, the word of the Lord was not rare in Eli's day because heaven had gone quiet. It was rare because the hearers had gone deaf. And in your day, the noise is 1,000 times louder. So gather up everything tonight has placed in your hands and treat all of it as one instruction. The 10 minutes of sacred silence, the scripture read slowly at dawn. The stillness you now know is not laziness but posture. Whatever helps you become small, still, and childlike, again, use it, not as a crutch, as a key. Because the voice that called a boy's name in the dark of the temple has not lost your address, and somewhere in the quiet you are about to build, it intends to call yours. And when the whisper comes, and it will come, answer it the way the child answered. Speak, Lord, your servant is listening. And now, before we close, I want to pray with you. Wherever you are, in the car, in the kitchen, in the dark, with your headphones in, you do not need to kneel and you do not need to close your eyes. Just open your hands and let these words be yours. Father, I thank you for the one listening right now. You knew their name before the world gave them a resume. You wrote their assignment before anyone taught them to shrink. I ask you to undo, in this very moment, every lie that called them lazy, every label that called them behind, every verdict spoken over them by people who could not see what you deposited in them. Where the world installed panic, install peace. Where the system installed striving, restore trust. Give them the courage to stop chasing what you never assigned, and the faith to begin what you never cancelled. Restore to them the heart of a child, the ears of Samuel, the boldness of David, the patience of Joseph. Quiet the static of these adult years. Tune their mind back to the frequency of wonder so that your whisper becomes unmistakable and your instructions become their daily bread. Let provision meet them on the road of obedience. Let the right people find them, the right doors open before them, and the wrong doors lock forever behind them. And let their household feel the change from this night forward, in Jesus' name. Now, chosen one, say these declarations with me, out loud if you can, because there are words that must be spoken and not merely heard. I am not lazy. I am led. I do not chase jobs. I answer assignments. My gift is not optional. It is my provision. My stillness is not weakness. It is preparation. My delay was not denial. It was direction. I will become small enough to hear and bold enough to obey. And what God authored in me before my first breath, no system, no rejection, and no year of waiting can cancel. If you spoke those words and felt something settle in your chest, that settling has a name. It is called alignment. Hold on to it. Return to it every morning before the world starts shouting. 10 minutes of sacred silence with your Father, with the door of your mind held open while He speaks. Because the version of you that rises from this message is not the version that clicked play, and heaven has been waiting a long time for this exact shift. Chosen one, we are almost at the end of this message, and if no one has ever said this to you plainly, let me say it now with the full weight of truth and divine clarity. You are not lazy. You are being led. That heaviness you have been carrying, that battle in your mind, that feeling of standing still while everyone else seems to be moving, it was never because you failed. It is because you have been chosen to move differently. God is not rushing you. He is preparing you. You were never created to follow the fast lane of this world. You were created to walk the narrow path of alignment. And yes, that path can feel slow. It can look unproductive on the surface. But what heaven is doing in you runs far deeper than what people can see from the outside. You are not behind. You are being refined. And the refining season almost always looks like silence, stillness, confusion, even inactivity, to those who do not understand divine timing. Gold does not look impressive in the fire. Seeds do not look successful underground. A wall being rebuilt looks like rubble right up until the day it stands. If your life looks like rubble to people who only glance at it, let them glance. The builder knows what he is doing. When you stop trying to explain your process to people who do not carry your assignment, you will find a peace you have not felt in years. You do not owe anyone an explanation for why you have slowed down. You do not need validation for why you have turned inward. God is rebuilding you from the inside out. That is why nothing feels the same anymore. That is why you cannot go back to how you used to operate, even when you try. Your spirit has outgrown the systems that once sustained you. You are not stuck. You are simply too awakened to go back to sleep. The world rewards hustle and applause and visible motion. Heaven rewards obedience. And obedience is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like leaving a job everyone said you were lucky to have. Sometimes it looks like turning down an opportunity that glittered on the outside and felt hollow in the spirit. Sometimes it looks like saying no when yes would have been easier, resting when your mind screamed at you to panic, waiting when everything in you wanted to force the next move. That is not laziness. That is spiritual maturity. That is what it means to be led by the Spirit and not by survival mode. You have felt the tension of being pulled in two directions, between doing what is expected and doing what is right for your soul. That tension is proof that you are no longer operating from your flesh. You are moving from a deeper place now, and with that depth comes a greater demand for discernment. You cannot afford to move fast just to please people. You must move accurately to please God. And remember this, because the enemy will try to steal it from you by Thursday. When God leads you, God provides for you. Maybe not all at once, maybe not in the way you imagined, but always on time and always enough. You are not falling behind financially, emotionally, or spiritually. You are being positioned for provision that sustains, not provision that merely patches. What you build from obedience will outlast everything you could have forced out of fear. So let go of the shame. Let go of the guilt, the pressure, the comparing, the scoreboard you keep checking that heaven never issued. Let go of trying to prove you are working hard enough. God already knows your heart. He never asked you to impress the world. He asked you to follow His voice. And if that voice says, rest, then rest. If it says, wait, then wait. If it says, begin, then begin tonight, with shaking hands if you must. If it says, move in a direction no one else understands, trust it anyway. You are not here to follow trends. You are here to set divine patterns. Your stillness is not wasted time. It is the soil where clarity grows. It is the space where power is being formed in secret. And when the moment comes to move, and it will come, you will move with a force and a certainty that will make up for every quiet month, every hidden year. Speed is not the sign of God's favor. Timing is. And your timing is being handled by hands that have never once been late. This is not just a pause, chosen one. It is a setup, a sacred one. You are being led by unseen hands, guided by divine intelligence, formed into someone who does not merely work for a living, but lives for a purpose. And if this word confirms what you have been sensing in the quiet, then know you are not lost. You are being led back home to the assignment, to the gift, and to the childlike heart that hears heaven clearly, back home to who you really are. Before you go, let me leave you with 3 simple things. First, if this message found you tonight, comment 1111 below and write 1 sentence declaring what you are stepping into instead of chasing. Speak it into the atmosphere. There is power in a written yes, and your words may be the confirmation another chosen one scrolls past at exactly the right moment. Second, subscribe to Rise of the Chosen and tap the bell and send this message to 1 person who has been quietly struggling with their purpose. You know who they are. Their name came to your mind a moment ago. That was not random. And third, chosen one, before the blessing, come back with me to one last door. Earlier in this message, I told you that you have been looking for an open door while carrying the key in your pocket. I meant your gift, and I still do. But I also handed you a smaller key tonight, a practical one, and I have deliberately not spoken its name since. I told you then that the fog you have carried is not your character, that it has an address, and that a team of neuroscientists in New York spent years building something that reaches that address in 8 minutes a day. The genius switch is still exactly where I left it. Nothing has moved. Behind that door, the same quiet arrangement is waiting. $39 to walk through instead of the 500 colleagues said it deserved. The 4 gifts waiting on the other side, and a guarantee so complete that if the door leads nowhere for you, every dollar walks back out with you. The cost of finding out whether your mind can come home is the cost of 1 family meal. I am not asking you to decide anything tonight. Chosen ones are not rushed, and heaven does not sell. I am only telling you where the door is one last time, so the decision belongs entirely to you and the God who has been speaking to you through this entire message. The path is in the description below and in the comment pinned at the top of this video. Both lead to the same place, and neither will have moved if you come back for it tomorrow morning after the stillness. Some of you will walk through it tonight. Some of you will simply take the silence, the scripture, and the declarations and build the altar barehanded, and heaven will honor that too, because the tool was never the point. The hearing is the point. The assignment is the point. You, chosen one, standing in the right place with a clear mind and a burning heart. That was always the point. Now receive this as we close. May the God who called Samuel by name in the dark call your name so clearly that you can never again mistake it for the wind. May every counterfeit door stay shut, and may the door built for your gift swing open without your hands touching it. May provision find you on the path of obedience. May your family feel the shift that begins in your mind, and may you never again apologize for the pace of a journey that heaven itself is directing. You were not made to go after jobs. You were made to answer a call. Trust the process. God is not late, and neither are you. Welcome to the Rise, chosen one. Your season is not running out.